What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream of Let's Get Nuts on the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Sorry we missed last week. I didn't have the COVID, which is a good thing, but at the same time, I was pretty sick, and I decided to stay on my couch playing Nintendo Switch. And for those of you guys who have played that new Zelda game, I can tell you it is a trap for hours of your life. So I had fun, but I do feel better this week. Guys, this week we're going to talk about Hot Toys news. We got EXO-6 news. We got some entertainment news that I want to definitely discuss as well. We're going to ask you, what's the weirdest thing you've ever had on a pizza? Also, rooted hair. Is it worth the cost of admission? Do we actually like it? Or is it just kind of the cool in thing right now? And it's going to go away from your collections down the line. I want to hear from you guys, so let's get some engagement in the chat today. For everybody here ready to get nuts with us, let's get it going.
Come on, let's get nuts.
I give you Ben Thomas.
Showdown.
Here we go.
Alrighty, guys. So we've got Pete on the way. He's having a couple technical difficulties over on his side of the world there in England, but Pete from Only Fools and Collecting is going to be here any moment, so when he comes in, we'll bring him in, of course, as well. But we have one other honored guest today as well. You guys may know him as Classy Thomas, but I asked Thomas today about his Star Trek knowledge, and while he doesn't have a ton, he's going to represent the few of you out there who can like it with me from afar, but he told me he was going to wear his Star Trek glasses today. So let's bring him in. Mr. Thomas, how are you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining.
I'm doing good, man. Yeah. You know, now I don't know if these are official Star Trek glasses. They probably aren't, but I just like the fact that they flash, and I saw them and had to have them. And they're a lot of fun. I mean, it's really, to be honest with you, this strobing effect it's actually very soothing, because when I'm looking through them, it's got this hexagonal design, and it's actually surprisingly very soothing. As a matter of fact, see, I'm nearsighted, but as I look through each one of those little small hexagonal things, it makes my vision clearer looking through the individual hexes. So I'm kind of like digging this thing. I'm kind of on board with it.
I can appreciate it, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like every week, slowly, if you like take a look back through the history of all the Let's Get Nuts shows, your technology in the background is slowly increasing. You're getting more lights, you're getting more lit goggles, like random stuff. Next week, you're gonna be like on board the Enterprise somehow. You're gonna have some weird background. I can see it happening.
And you're going to be very, very proud to know that I just recently got some what do you call that? Editing. Editing stuff. Yeah. Well, I have editing software, but I got some other little things to go along with it. So I'm kind of excited because now that I'm planning some things to work on, I also am starting to think about how do I want it to appear visually for my viewers. So I'm real excited to try some things out. I made a promise to myself. I told Zach about this a little while ago. I said, my goal is to learn something new before each time I stream, and to use that new little piece I've learned to try kind of enhance what I'm doing. So that's what I'm going to do. Like last time, I started integrating transitions in between the different segments, which is kind of fun.
On your
display, on the tour,
right? Yeah, your 2.0. Yeah, I noticed that.
And so I'm gonna try a few other things, but yeah, I'm real excited and looking forward to being here here with you, going nuts and just having a good time with my boy.
Heck yeah, buddy. Well, I'm happy to have you. If any of you guys are seeing Classy Thomas for the first time, his actual YouTube show is the SpongeBob Square Balls. SpongeBob Square Balls. Check that out. He's done his collection tours now, and as you just heard him say, he's increasing his abilities technologically. So it's going to get pretty serious over there on his channel at some point. Maybe he'll overtake me and I'll be invited to his live streams in the future. So, as I said, we got Pete on the way here, Thomas, as well, because I know Pete is a big Star Trek guy. Right now, I meant to mention in the intro as well to you guys that Star Trek Con in Las Vegas just happened. So there is a bunch of that to cover, but we are going to start the show with entertainment news today. We're going to get into some of the Hot Toys news. Then we're going to get into a little Star Trek stuff, but then we're going to talk about that rooted hair question. So stick around. Of course, you can always pop in and out depending on what your Sunday looks like today. But guys, let's check in with the chat real quick, and then let's get into some of our fun-ass topics that we got going on. So Tyrio was actually the first person in my chat today. He says, I've never seen Star Trek, but Ben's enthusiasm when he talks about it is contagious. Hi, all. I appreciate that, buddy. I'm glad nobody's, like, slamming their head against the desk every time another Star Trek video comes up from me. Mugwump, evening, all. Good to see you here. We got Absolute Irwin in the chat. Sup, Nutty Crew. I love to see it. Mike Litoris here. Hello, people. Hope you're doing well, buddy. If you're out in the work site today, be safe if you're listening to the show from there. Action Figure Academy, finish the Canadian Bush Benjamin and let's get going. That's funny. We got Tyria again. Mike Latoris does say let's get nutted, so that's getting dirtier sounding by the moment. We got AJ Agrusa in the chat. Hello, friends. Hope all is well. We've got Community Arcade here as well. Feeling nutty. Hello, collectors. Let's see. I think that's everybody here so far. Oh, we got Jose G. Hernandez here as well. And I'm sure more people will continue to slowly roll in as the show progresses. If I missed anybody, I apologize. You just let me know, and I will make sure I call you guys out. So, also, Absolute Irwin says, Thomas, keep that. Yeah, you're looking good, bud. You even got the fire emoji. So, I gotta be careful.
All right.
Gotta get out there, buddy. So, so I almost called you Pete. Thomas, I was at, I want to call it like almost like a Japanese style dollar store yesterday with my friend Hannah. And, you know, like, it's kind of like everything you can think of. They got computer mouses, they've got computer mice, computer mouses, either way, cords, they've got like mugs, they've got napkins, they've got back massagers, which I think was a vibrator, but they called it a back massager. Yeah. Back massager. They had
was it shaped like a penis?
It kind of was, and I was like, I mean, I don't have that often of a sore back, but I don't think I would buy that for myself. Point aside. This came up in the aisleway. I'll show you here. Oh, that's so fact. This came up. And my friend Hannah was with me, so she sent me this snap, which is why it has writing on it. But she says, why does this pizza have peas and corn on it? I looked at this and I legitimately thought this was a chicken pot pie. Puzzle. It's a pizza.
Well, yes, that's puzzle. I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah. Man.
It's a pizza. But it's got, as I said, you can see it's got pepperoni. It's got pineapple on there.
Pineapple with corn and peas?
And peas. I'm like, these folks have never seen a pizza, at least not in Canada before. But my question for you is, what's the weirdest topping you think you enjoy on your pizza, or what you consider a weird topping for others to enjoy?
All right, well, now this is not weird for everybody. It's weird for me because I just think it's nasty. But I had some anchovies. Oh my gosh, those things were horrible. They were so salty and well, of course, you know, I'm not really that into things that are super salty, but I was like, what in the world is this thing? But I have had pineapple on a pizza, and it seems out of place on a pizza, but it is surprisingly tasty. I think that combination of the sweet and the salty, because see, like, look, I'm the one that I will go to McDonald's, get myself one of those little vanilla ice cream cones and some French fries, so I can have that sweet and salty. So sometimes I'll dip the fries in there, or sometimes I'll just eat a fry, lick the ice cream, eat a fry, lick the ice cream. So I kind of am into the sweet and salty thing, but yeah, but just not too salty. That's why those pepperonis are so, not pepperonis, those anchovies are so off-putting for me.
So it's interesting because I feel like anchovies is one of those things that whenever a weird topping comes up for pizza, people are always like, "Oh, that's the weirdest thing on a pizza." I've had it. I didn't actually mind it, but I do like saltiness. I even like I like green olives on a pizza, for example. And I know a lot of people are like, "That's crazy. You're crazy. Never put that on a pizza." But it's for the same reason. They're kind of salty and a little bit meaty, right? So I dig that. I don't think I would ever put corn and peas on a pizza, though.
Yeah,
that to me is just like...
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And looking at this, it does look like pot pie. It really does. And yeah, I mean, it's a vegetable, so I'm not a blue tattoo. I'm not really sure that I would have that, but I can't say that it wouldn't, because I do like corn and I do like peas. So I just can't imagine what it would taste like on a pizza.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, and it's also got, what's that? Those carrots too, right?
Oh, maybe. Like, yeah,
Are those carrots?
I think maybe, like, it's hard to say. They're really... This looks like, as I said, to me,
It looks like a pot pie, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I don't know. If anybody is just joining in right now, or everybody in the chat listening, what is your weird pizza selection choice? What would you put on a pizza that you think other people would think was weird? And or... are you guys a pineapple fan? Because I'm seeing a lot of people out there be like, pineapple's the best. Some people think pineapple's the grossest. For me, I'm always cool with a ham and pineapple pizza or Hawaiian pizza. If you're allowed to call it a Hawaiian pizza nowadays, you just never know. You never know what's allowed to be said. But guys, let me know what you think is the weirdest pizza you've ever seen in our chat below. Of course, we're now warmed up for Let's Get Nuts. So let's get into some entertainment news, guys. This came up and has been reported by Variety today. Barbie surpasses $1 billion globally after 17 days of release. And I gotta say, while I figured this movie was gonna do pretty freaking good, let's be honest, I mean, we've never had a Barbie movie before. I did not expect it to cross $1 billion
had no
that
clue.
fast.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. So I went in and I was like, okay, what's the film that's passed $1 billion the fastest? And apparently, and maybe the chat won't be too surprised by this, but it was Avengers Endgame. It surpassed $1 billion in only 5 days.
Okay.
Which, I mean, that was a global phenomenon, right? I mean, that film was insane. And I do think that Barbie combined with Oppenheimer, this whole Barbenheimer meme thing that we've been joking about over the last couple of weeks, obviously that's contributed to it. But it doesn't necessarily contribute fully, right? Because let's be honest, this must be a relatively good story for it to have that much meat on the bone, for it to have that much rewatch value. And even I haven't even seen it yet, so I haven't even contributed to these $1 billion worth of dollars yet. And I've got friends that have still not seen it. So obviously a lot of people are going out. Have you seen the crowds of people at the theater wearing pink yet, Thomas, for this film?
I've seen them in pictures, like people saying I'm dressed for Barbie and they have on their pink, and I'm like, man, and I can imagine that a lot of parents like, is this a PG-13?
This is PG-13.
Okay, because I'm imagining that a lot of parents are taking their children, because the children are probably saying, I want to see Barbie, I want to see Barbie. And I think that the story must be intriguing enough that adults are going to see it also. For sure. Because I've heard of adults who don't have children that are going to see Barbie and said they enjoyed it. So I'm actually very happy for them, and I'm secretly hoping that Hot Toys or that some place does an action figure style Barbie and Ken, because it will be very interesting to see how they approach it, especially when you look at the like if you go into like collecting circles and you see the collectors where they have the old slender box with the Barbie in her little swimsuit and Ken in his little trunks. I'm kind of wondering how they would approach that, and I mean, it just makes me curious to see how they would market it. And I can only imagine that somebody's going to try it, but it's kind of exciting. I mean, surpassing $1 billion. I mean, that is,
pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you know, it's also really interesting. All right, so you had Top Gun Maverick, Spider-Man, Barbie. It seems like the blockbuster movies, these ones that are actually catering to the masses are the ones that are doing surprisingly extremely well. And they're all from, with the exception of Maverick, they all are from either toy or comic inspired properties, which is kind of makes me wonder whether or not it's appealing because it appeals not only to kids, but it also appeals to adults who want to relive a part of their childhood.
I think that's nail on the head. I think that's one of the reasons that we've seen such success with Mario, right? Like, think about Mario, even how long Mario's existed. We now have people that could absolutely be young enough and old enough to be considered grandparents. Their kids have already started having babies as well. So there could be at least 3 generations of people going to see a Mario movie who has enjoyed Mario over time. Barbie's way older than that. Like, 50 plus years. I don't even know. I meant to pull it up before we started the show.
Yeah.
Let us know. But Jose G. Hernandez says, Barbie's not necessarily a kid's movie, which I don't think Thomas was necessarily suggesting. That there's still younger people, I'm sure even, 12 to 13, 10 to 14, somewhere in that range, that would absolutely still get something out of it with regards to it. Now, I got to call out some of these here before we continue on, Thomas, because there's a couple great messages here. So, Action Figure Academy says anchovies on pizza are the bomb. Absolute Irwin Miniso. That's the store, Irwin. That's where we found this pizza, this Miniso. He says you'll find tons of stuff there that you don't need but would like to buy. Very true. Mugwump says anchovy, olive, and caper pizza is a gem. Interesting. Really salty, I would imagine that.
Yeah.
For sure. Eddie Rodriguez says, I put licorice on my pizza.
Licorice?
Never heard of that. Is it black licorice or red licorice? Like, I would have to think it would be black licorice, but interesting.
Well, once you go black, you never go back.
Oh my God. I love to see it. AJ Hakarusa says, 100% a fan of green olives on my pizza. I actually do green and black and double pepperoni and mushrooms. I'd be all over that for sure. Jose says, in Mexico, they give you ketchup for pizza order, which I think is interesting.
Jose, do they also put the sauce in addition to the ketchup?
Probably.
That's what I'm kind of wondering. Yeah.
Dip your pizza in ketchup. Interesting.
Okay.
Eddie Rodriguez also says, I dip my pizza in Coke. Like Coca-Cola? I've never heard of that before.
For that kind
Action Figure Academy says, what kind of Coke? I love to see it. Thalia Meyer in the chat. Hey, everyone. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining in on Let's Get Nuts. Jose, I don't know if I have you on Facebook Messenger. If you're wanting to jump into the show today, let me know. Send me a message on Facebook, and I can send you the link over. Because he had put up his hand at one point to say he'd join in, especially if you like Star Trek stuff. I don't know if he does or not, but that's awesome. We do have Pete here. He looks like he's got through his technical difficulties. Pete, give me the thumbs up if you're ready to come in there, buddy. Awesome. All right. I didn't want to bring you in just in case. I didn't see any big headphones on you or anything like that.
Pete.
So. Can you hear us okay?
Can't hear you.
You can't hear us? We can hear you. We'll bring you out. Just let me know when you're thumbs me up again when you're good to go, okay? That's funny. I'll bring him out just for now while he gets sorted out. So, either way, with regards to Barbie, guys, I am actually pretty excited. Oh, Eddie Rodriguez says black licorice. I don't know if I'll ever try that, to be honest with you. I don't even like black licorice by itself, let alone on a pizza. But, oh my God, what is this? Shiny says, used to know an MF ate pizza and ice cream together. Okay,
I could be down with that.
I mean, I can see Classy Thomas over here doing that if he's dipping his French fries in ice cream. You ever eat something and have somebody look at you like, what the heck are they eating over there?
Every once in a while, but I've never had anybody look at me that way with the ice cream and French fries. People seem to get that for some reason.
That's awesome. Well, and there's a restaurant here in Banff, Alberta, so right in the mountains, called Bear Street Tavern. And on their table, they always have honey and chili oil. And so it doesn't matter what pizza you get in this restaurant. You drizzle it with some honey and some chili oil, and it's insanely good. I would 100% recommend that to you guys. But with regards to Barbie, Thomas, I think at the end of the day, I'm actually getting more and more excited to see this film. I hope that it does like insane numbers. It already is, but I hope it surpasses as one of the bigger movies of the year. I think that would be a cool win. don't hope for more Mattel movies necessarily, though. I'm not
Yeah.
really all that excited about seeing a Viewfinder movie like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Like, there's just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
so.
I can't imagine the plot. See, Barbie like DC, like Star Wars, like Star Trek, like Marvel. It has an established universe with established characters in it. So you can really make up any story. I don't see how you can make a movie around a viewfinder. Now you might even be able to get away with Masters of the Universe, but their universe is so limited that if you did a movie, I don't see you being able to do multiple movies. Now I can see them possibly coming up with a sequel for Barbie because
they'll do a
the fact,
sequel.
because
they would be crazy to not do a
to.
sequel at this point. At this point, it would be insane. Hopefully it would still be Margot Robbie though as Barbie, but you can have multiple versions of Barbie. It doesn't have to be the same actress, right? Like we've seen that with toys. So Robert Online says, just got here. Hi, 3 waves. I love the glasses. Where can I get a pair? Still no move yet, huh? Can't wait to update the collection tour.
Actually, I got these glasses on Temu.
Somebody tried to get me signed up for that recently, and I honestly thought they were trying to steal my banking information, so I didn't say yes.
Temu kind of reminds me of Wish. I mean, except Wish sucks and Temu kind of doesn't. I mean, Temu seems to have a higher, I'm not going to say a higher quality, but it seems like their items seem to be maybe a little bit better than you might be able to get on Wish. And they got tons of glasses. I mean, I've loaded up on glasses because I love them. And so I have these. I've got some other kind that I wear around, and but they have all kinds. As a matter of fact, I got some my lights. I got some RGB lights. I got some other lights I use in my streaming and in my videotaping that I got off of Temu for pretty much nothing. Well, not nothing. It was very inexpensive though. So
it looks like you've been to the future, like in a Back to the Future film. Like Doc Brown comes back. Yes, I've been to the future. Everybody wears these glasses there. So let's move on, Thomas. Loki season 2 trailer has finally come up, and I actually purposely haven't watched it yet because I really enjoyed the first season of Loki, and a lot of people really didn't, which I was disappointed by because it was one of those shows that I wanted to kind of celebrate and talk to people about. And then so many people were like, oh, I'm over it. But then the newest season, it looks like it's still coming in October. So October 6th is when the official announcement is, at least as of right now. Hopefully that won't get moved. And I am excited about it. But I am too. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Kang. I have heard from the trailer that he's only in it very, very briefly. But because it's a multiverse movie, technically they could replace the actor Jonathan Majors if they needed to after some of his controversy. I kind of hope they don't, though, because I did like him as Kang, and I only hope they don't if he's obviously not guilty of his crimes, because I don't want to put those people on stage either necessarily if they're doing bad things. But on the other hand, I did like the character, and I liked the actor portraying it. So I am excired for Loki season 2 for sure. Did you see Loki season 1? Are you excited for season 2?
I'm very excited, yeah. And I really enjoyed it. All right, I'm the person who really has enjoyed a majority. I don't think there's any of the Marvel TV shows that I did not enjoy. I even liked what was her name? She-Hulk. All right, I mean, I like them for what they are. I know what they are. I'm not expecting them to be masterpieces, but what I am looking for is I'm watching them and then I'm storing things away because I said Kevin Feige has proven through the initial 3 or 4 phases that he is trying to tie in a large inclusive storyline. So even if something leaves me hanging or leaves me wondering what's happening next, I'm expecting that, okay, this is tying into something. So I'm paying attention, I'm watching it, and there might be something like people talk about all the filler episodes and things like that, but I kind of like the I don't necessarily want action every single time, because if that's all you get, it's almost like it's almost like if all you did was climax, you wouldn't have an appreciation for climaxing.
I need to get a nut button like Zach has on collecting nut. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, after a while,
it's a good point.
So sometimes you need something to kind of take the space up a little bit before they hit you again, and then when they hit you again, you're like, oh wow, yes, it's kind of like new.
Sure.
So I kind of really enjoy I enjoy that little push and pull that you get, but I really enjoyed Loki. I mean, I don't know that I was necessarily a Loki fan. Like, Will Foxification is now, Will is just a complete Loki fan.
100%,
I don't know that I was necessarily a big Loki fan, but I think I've become one because I like his arc. I kind of like the fact that he is. I'm not gonna call him. Well, yeah, I think I would rather call him an anti-hero. I don't or maybe an anti-villain. I don't think he's good or bad. I think he just does what he wants, and he doesn't really see good or bad. He says, "Well, it's what I want, so it's got to be good for me. If it's bad for you, that's on you."
I think it's interesting that the show is still based on a variant representation, though, of the original Loki that we had for all of those movies, the character that we got to know, watch, love, and die. And then the variant is from, the 2012 film, who then, gets that Tesseract and warps into the multiverse. In fact, the Loki Endgame figure that I have in my collection right now, I've got him in shackles, holding the Tesseract with his muzzle on, as he's about to kind of warp into that multiverse. And
that's
I think
a good idea.
I've got the TVA Loki now on order so that I can put TVA Loki beside him. So kind of that evolution of the character from where he jumps out of the 2012 scene.
Yeah, I saw a really cool thing, I think on Sideshow, where they had taken all the Loki and Loki variants, Sylvie and including Kang, and they made a display of just those characters. And I said, wow, I think I have enough Lokis that I could do something like that would make it really where you get a chance to celebrate that character, because I'm probably going to do the same thing with my Spider-Man characters also, because I have I've got a lot of Spider-Man, and I said, well, it would be kind of cool to just have almost like a Spider-Verse version of them as a display cabinet. But I definitely want to do something with my Lokis. What's up, Pete?
Oh. Can you hear us now, Pete, by chance?
Pete, can you hear us?
So technical difficulties. England's trying to cut him off from Let's Get Nuts Canada. You hate to see it.
Oh, come on.
Mugwump says, for me, Loki is at its best when he's malevolent. Self-serving, worst. Just couldn't get on with the Series 1, but I'm hopeful Series 2 will win me over. I do agree with that, to be honest, up to a certain extent. But like Thomas was saying, I did really like the arc that we were seeing from Loki, just having something a little bit different. I would say if you didn't get to the end of season 1, Mugwump, still give it another shot. Try to get to the end. I would say the last 2 to 3 episodes were some of the worst, or some of the best content of the season. And I'm happy that I stuck through some of the slower episodes throughout the midsection there, and was happy to see what happened at the end. Even if you maybe skipped an episode or two and just watched the final 2 episodes, you'd probably still really enjoy it. Yeah. But it brings me to the next one here, which is Variety here reporting that Secret Invasion was a mess, but Marvel had already lost its way. I don't know if I totally agree with that or not, for a couple reasons. So I, like you, Thomas, have enjoyed quite a few of the films. I don't go in with very high expectations, and haven't really, even since Endgame. But even prior to Endgame, I didn't have a ton of expectations, because there were films in that lot, even the Phase 1, Phase 2, that I didn't totally love. Not everything landed with me. The difference back then was that they were films most of the time and not television series.
Yes.
One of the things that I think is absolutely the worst thing that's happened with Marvel is not the fact that they have television shows as well as movie content, but that the television shows are actually so short and condensed that it doesn't feel to me like it always tells a full story. So Secret Invasion, I literally posted on my Instagram how much I was actually enjoying the show. And then the last episode happened, and I was like, not only was it like the shortest episode so far of that season, but they just mashed so much into it in that last episode that just didn't stick the landing for me.
Yeah.
And I saw that was the case for a lot of people. I was kind of, it was one of those like shared frustrations that I was kind of happy to see that other people were equally a little frustrated by it, because I was like, I was actually enjoying the show for the most part. Why is it over already, and why did they just force it all down on us? But on the other hand, it makes me wonder if the Marvels movie that's coming is going to have really any level of success at this point. Especially since it still features Nick Fury, which I thought was going to be a big draw for us for this series, Secret Invasion. And with it landing a little flat, I wonder if he'll be much of a draw for Marvels. What do you think of the show Secret Invasion, if you saw it? And are you getting hyped still for Marvels or not?
You know, I haven't seen it yet, but I have heard people talking about and complaining about the last episode. And that's the one thing I will say about the TV shows, which I have to agree with most people, is that I think that they have not done a good job of closing things out. And I think a lot of that, well, some of it could be due to the those filler episodes, but I think that one of the other things is that they seem to be so committed and determined to fit an entire series into 6 episodes. And I never understood, why do you want to do a series and just give 6 episodes? Now when they did the 9 episode arcs, I found that they made those episodes shorter. And I was like, listen, why don't you do an hour-long show, make them all at least 9 episodes? Because then that way you're able to, you can ramp things up, slow things down, but then you can tell a complete story. It seems like with those 6 episode arcs, that by the time you get to episode 9, they're just getting into the good stuff. And then you have 1 episode to wrap it up. And so I think that it's probably, a lot of people talked about the writing, it's probably the writing. They need to figure out a way, if you're going to do 6 episodes, you need to figure out a way to, in 6 episodes, write a complete story. Totally. Make sure that you know what your beginning is, what your end's going to be. Once you know those 2 things, then you figure out how you're going to spread it out among those 6 episodes. And I don't know how well they have thought it out. Now, some of it could be because, from what I understand, when Bob Chapek was in charge of Disney, the creators didn't have as much creative control. He was actually bringing his corporate people in and having them run things. And I think that's where the issue is, because Bob Iger seems to favor the creatives, while Bob Chapek was trying to fit things more with the money people. And I'm like, listen, I said, you're not gonna win over the true lovers, and you're not going to win over new people if all you're concerned about is just your bottom line. Now, you always have to keep that in mind, but you need to let the creatives create. And if it looks like, then that way you can negotiate things out and say, look, this is stretching a little bit long. How are we going to tie this up together so we can fit it into that? That will be one thing, but it seemed like they were just given directives from people, and Kevin Feige actually was pulled. They kind of had taken a lot of his duties and spread them out to other people. Whereas during the movie versions, during the up through Endgame, he was heavily involved in everything. He told all of his directors what he needed from them, and I don't think that he had that same power. So,
the other part, though, that I wonder is obviously there's a writer strike going on right now, as well as now an actor strike. But with the writers, obviously, if they were being put into these situations where they were forced to just pump out content for these big companies, I can understand why things would kind of fall through the cracks a little bit.
Yes.
You might have only needed to read the first 2 or 3 episodes of this season, for example, of Secret Invasion, and go, yeah, on paper, it looks like it's going to be a good show. As I said, for me, I liked almost the whole show right up to the last episode, which is crazy when you think about it, because it wasn't even something I went in with this with real low expectations. I didn't think I was going to like it at all, and ended up enjoying it. So if I'd looked at the kind of what I expected the show to look like on paper, I would have thought maybe it was going to be better. But with these writers being so squeezed, I could also understand why we're starting to see lackluster content, and I honestly don't think that people are necessarily fatigued with Marvel content anymore. I think they're fatigued with just kind of lackluster content. Yeah. And it's there was a time where going to see a Marvel movie with my buddies was like an event. You know what I mean? Like we would get primed, we would get stoned, we would have a blast. We would look forward to it. We'd have our tickets paid for in advance. Now it's gotten to the point, even with the films, that it's kind of like, well, I'll wait a couple days to see what real people are actually saying, or people out in the community that I trust their judgment on. Mr. Masashi here in the chat says, "What's up, Ben and crew? Hey, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for stopping through." Mugwump says, "Secret Invasion was missing the high stakes espionage and paranoia the first episode seemed to promise, and less about the finale. And the less said about the finale, the better. Missed opportunity for sure." Some folks are saying here as well, like Absolute Irwin says, "Yeah, I was enjoying the show, but the last episode was a letdown, and the Rhodey situation also sucked." I mixed opinions on the Rhodey situation. I apologize. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen the show yet. I didn't think the Rhodey situation was necessarily a bad addition. I just don't think that they thought it out very well. So I think that the hard part there is that there are people who really love this content who have really thought about it. So if you're not going to take that in a direction, then it sucks. Because then it's like, did you just not think about that? Or did you just not really give us the pieces of information? I mean, for all we know, like, Rhodey didn't get captured at the end of Civil War. Like, that's what people are feeling. That's the case because he has a very similar hospital gown on. Maybe he got kidnapped on the way to the doctor's office a week ago. But because they didn't really go into any detail on it, we don't really know. So the question mark is the part that sucks. But I think that they thought that question mark would be one of those, like, would be a hook. It would be something that Marvel fans would be like, that's really cool. I want to find out what happened with that. Instead, people are like, well, what? Oh, okay. I mean, what? It asks more questions than it's worth.
Yeah.
So Blazing Asian says, 100% Ben, it's not a comic book movie fatigue, it's mediocrity fatigue.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And that's what I'm feeling. I had heard people say that Miss Marvel was one of the better Disney Plus shows.
Oh, so yes, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've been giving it a chance, and because I didn't know much about the character, I'd never read any of her comics, so I didn't honestly care that much, and I really didn't love Captain Marvel films, so I was okay to skip it, but the closer we've got to Secret Invasion and some of these other shows, I was like, okay, screw it. I'll give it a chance. I've heard it was good. And I've watched the first, I think, 5 episodes now, and have enjoyed it. But I would say even still not necessarily enough to be getting me all that excited for the Marvels film.
So Ben, tell me, I've heard many different people say how they weren't a really big fan of Captain Marvel in the MCU, and I think some of them had problems with Brie Larson. Other people maybe. What was it about the show that didn't really resonate with you?
The show or the movie? Sorry,
I'm sorry, the movie. Yeah, the movie.
Good question. You know what? I honestly think it was just I didn't connect with the character all that well. And maybe that's an actress component. I don't think Brie Larson is a bad actress by any stretch, but I didn't really feel like I connected to her all that much. I wasn't all that excited for her and the power set. I didn't like the kind of the OP or the overpowered nature of the character, but then that character's power seems to kind of differ in its consistency. Sometimes she's like the most powerful Avenger. Sometimes it doesn't really seem like she is, or because she is, they have to make sure she's not part of other stories so that she doesn't come in and just overpower everybody. I don't like overpowered characters. Even it's one of my criticisms even often of Superman. While I like Superman as a character, I don't like the fact that most of the time the only thing that can take him down is kryptonite. So it's so not convenient. It's so like predictable. It it feels like they have to force things into a story to make it a story. And I felt that similar kind of issue with Captain Marvel. But I didn't hate the show or the movie. I didn't think it was anything bad. I liked seeing the 90s. You know, I liked her crashing into the blockbuster. Like, there was lots of it that I thought was great and made me smile. I even liked seeing a young Nick Fury. I'm a huge cat person, so I really liked the Flurkin. I thought that was a really cool
and
cool
I kind of
aspect.
dug how I really enjoyed how the Flurkin, I mean, her storyline revealed how he got that patch. And I was like, you know, because you always wonder, I mean, it was just a part of his character just having that patch on his eye. But to see that the cat scratched his eye out, I was like, the Flurkin, I was like, okay. I mean, it was kind of like one of those cool little, it wasn't something that you necessarily needed to know because it wasn't something they focused on. But when you saw it, I was like, oh man, that was kind of cool. I get it.
For sure. Maxim M says she had no hero arc. She was just better and that came across as petulant. Yeah, totally. Totally agree. But Blazing Asian says, I always like Brie Larson, and she's easy on the eyes. I don't think she's a bad actress. I don't know. There was something about her that just didn't necessarily connect with me. And it's funny. I call myself like empathetic almost to a fault. If you started crying right now, please don't do it. I probably would start crying. Honestly, I'm just empathetic to a fault. So usually I don't have a hard time connecting with characters or with people, and it wasn't there for me. The only reason I'm disappointed also that Secret Invasion didn't end in with a really awesome conclusion that everybody really liked was that I'm kind of worried we're not going to see a Hot Toys from the series anymore. And I was still kind of wanting an old, grizzled Nick Fury with his beanie and his beard and all that. So I would have still collected that in my collection.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But because it didn't do very well, I'll be curious to see if Hot Toys is just like, yeah, we're just going to can any idea surrounding that. I don't even know if it was on the table for them, but I would have liked to see an old Nick Fury. But guys, everybody listening in the chat, we have 36 people here watching live. Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of Let's Get Nuts. We appreciate it. Let us know what you guys thought of Secret Invasion. Would you have wanted any Hot Toys from the show, even if you didn't love the show? Same goes for Loki Season 2. The Marvels that's coming up, the film. Are you excited about those? Or are you kind of just done with it at this point? For me, it's like watching something I love bleed to death. I kind of I don't want it to die because I want to keep getting content. I just need it to be content that is good enough for people, and including myself, that they can continue to make quality so we can get more collectibles, so we can have more shows and movies to look forward to. I want Marvel to get back to that point where it's an event to going to see this stuff. Not that it's just like, heck with it, I'll deal with it another time, or watch it on my Sunday if I've got nothing better to do. That's unfortunate.
You know, I feel the same way about when they did Shang-Chi, because I don't feel like, well, it was of course during the height of the pandemic, but I don't really feel like they really. I think that movie could have done much better had they advertised more. Because, to be honest with you, I wasn't aware that it was coming out until it was out. Because now I don't know if that was just in my area, but I didn't see many trailers and stuff being shown about it, and the same thing about Secret Invasion. I was not even aware it was out until about 2 episodes in, because I hadn't really heard much. And to be honest with you, I hadn't been checking Disney Plus that often because I got it mainly for Marvel content. But because they slowed down with it so much, I hadn't even been checking. So I didn't even know that Secret Invasion was out. So it's kind of sucky for me.
And the hard part for that, even still, Thomas, is that I think right now, even with the actors' strike, obviously we're not seeing some of those late night television show rounds, right? Where you see the actors on show promoting their movie, make sure you get out there and buy tickets, guys, and watch it. Even before the actor strike, I really liked seeing, Tom Cruise out there, for example, going to different movies when his Mission Impossible was in film or was in theater. Seeing, Christopher Nolan pumping up Barbie, and seeing the cast of Barbie pumping up Oppenheimer. I liked seeing that. It got some hype for it. But right now, with everybody on strike, I wonder if that's also part of the reason it's just not really necessarily getting that hype train that we would normally see.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 second here, because we've got a super chat. Thank you so much. Maxim M says with a $2 super chat, please, or euro, I think, €2 super chat. Please reboot Into Mutants Only universe. Thank you. That's awesome. And for you, Maxim M, let's give you one of these here. Let's see.
Bam! Peanut butter and jam!
For those of you who have no idea where that's from, Trailer Park Boys. But I quote Trailer Park Boys, once again, probably to a fault. In fact, the girl that I'm seeing right now, Hannah, I can tell that I say the same shit over and over and over and over again, because she's now starting to finish my sentences already, and we've only been hanging out for about 3 months. So, yeah. But bam to you, good sir. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And Maximum says pound sterling. You'll love to see it. Thank you for the correction. I got to get my little chart of all the different currencies up here for super chats. Now, this popped up as well this week, and there's a couple of castings here that I think are pretty exciting. This hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, but it is looking like these are some possibilities. And we're looking, of course, at the Fantastic Four film reboot that is coming. Now, I will say, Vanessa Kirby is becoming one of my, one of those actresses that, if you could have, what do they call it? Like a list when you're in a relationship. It's not a bucket list person, but it's something like that. She would be on there because she is a badass. She's also very beautiful and a fantastic actress. I really enjoyed her so far.
What has she been in?
So most recently, the Dead Reckoning Mission Impossible film. She's one of the bad ladies in that film, and one of the previous Mission Impossibles as well. She's also in a couple of other things. I haven't seen her in much, to be honest, but she's awesome and a great actress. I think she would make a great Sue Storm. Joseph,
in looking at her also, I mean, she kind of has the look. When they showed Margot Robbie as a possibility, I was like, I said, I can see the look, but my problem with somebody like Margot Robbie is that she, to me, is Harley Quinn. I can't see Harley Quinn playing Sue Storm. Kind of like the same problem I had for years with Will Smith. When he started getting into movies, I had a problem with most of his early roles because I kept seeing him, number one, as a rapper, number two, as the Fresh Prince. I could not disassociate him for probably until his third or fourth movie before I finally start seeing him adopt other characters, because I would see him use mannerisms and things that were from the show, and I said, okay, here's the Fresh Prince coming out again. And I really wanted to see him absorb something else, but I kind of like actors and actresses that maybe are not as well known, that I'm not as familiar with, because then they get to inhabit the character and create it and make it their own. And when I'm looking at her, I'm like, I can kind of see her as Sue Storm. I just don't want to know if she can be vulnerable enough, because there have been times where Reed Richards was a real asshole to her. And so, she's got to be able to have a little bit of vulnerability as well as badassedness.
Absolutely, dude. Well
Pete.
said. Pete, can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you at least, for sure. Absolutely.
So I'm on my phone, so it's not going to sound great. But it's the only way I can get in at the moment.
That's okay. I'll blame it on the telephone delay from England over to Canada. So
sure. Yeah,
we're just happy you're here, buddy. We're just happy you're here, because Thomas was saying he can be objective about the Star Trek content that's coming up later in the show. But I need somebody also that could be like that shit if it is. So so I'm happy to have you here, buddy. Joseph Quinn as the Human Torch, though. I could see that, honestly. I thought he was great in Stranger Things this recent season.
Which one was he?
Boost. So he was the guy. He was Eddie. Was it Eddie in the show? No, I can't remember the character's name now. You guys tell me in the chat, what was his character name in Stranger Things? Either way, he was the guy with the big mullet. He was playing the Dungeons and Dragons, and then he was the guy that played Metallica up on the roof of the
trailer.
Camper.
Okay, yes. Okay,
at
now
the very end. Awesome portrayal. and clearly boosted his celebrity status. But when you talk about what feels like a no-name actor still in a role, I'd still say that while his celebrity star is growing and his name is recognizable now, I don't feel like he's been in enough things that I can have a judgment whether or not I'd like him as Human Torch or not, which kind of excites me about it, because it's an open book role. Pete, what do you think of either Vanessa Kirby as a potential Sue Storm or even Joseph Quinn there as Human Torch?
Yeah, they both look pretty good to me. Yeah, they've got the right. Well, she's definitely got the right look, I think. And a bit difficult to tell with him because obviously you don't know much of him because she's the what's she been in recently? I've seen her in something recently.
Mission Impossible.
That's it. Yeah. So she was really good in that.
She's got an intense eye beauty thing going on. When she gets like really focused and zoned in, it's crazy.
Yeah, she's cool. Yeah, and with Johnny, obviously, a lot of the time is going to be spent as CGI with the flames and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say give him a go, definitely.
We've got F. Wellington in the chat here as well. Thanks for joining in, buddy. He says, disassociating actors from their previous roles in real lives. That's a you problem, isn't though, Classy Thomas? No offense.
Yes, it is a me problem. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I said that I couldn't get with them. But I know a lot of people really enjoy, like one of my best friends, she was in love with Will Smith, and she was like, "Oh, Will Smith." I was like, "Man, that's a Fresh Prince. That's not something I say."
You didn't feel that way in Hancock, though. I didn't feel like he was anything like Fresh
Prince.
Oh
no. Yeah, I actually thought he was pretty cool in Hancock.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he did Independence Day, for example, that was very shortly after him leaving the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I was like, "Nah, man, you're still the Fresh Prince. You're not saving the universe. You're about to rap and say, yeah, man, and then throw Jazzy out the door or something like that." So
that's so funny.
Yeah, but yes, it's definitely a me issue.
When he punches the alien in the face and says "Welcome to Earth," that still makes me laugh.
Yeah, now that was pretty cool, I have to admit.
But I do agree with what F. Wellington is saying. I do think you have to try and disassociate the actor from the role. There are certain people that are hard to do that with. For me, The Rock is actually one of those people.
Yes.
Dwayne Johnson. No matter what role he's in, I still feel like it's The Rock. Even the Black Adam film. I didn't hate the Black Adam film. I didn't think it was amazing, but he was good for the role of Black Adam, but I still only saw The Rock. I feel like they should have given him his little Widow Peak hairstyle.
Yes.
They should have given him the longer ears. They should have done more to differentiate what Rock looks like just on a regular basis from Black Adam the character. Why didn't you do these things?
And also it's the way he spoke. It's the way the way he speaks. He did not come across as a man born in Egypt hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He sounds too modern and didn't really make an effort to sound a little bit more ancient. And that's the reason why I had a difficult time with him. He just seemed a little too modern for me in that role.
Absolutely. And then Maxim M saying here, what about Jonathan Rhys Meyers as Richards? So, I mean, I don't know enough about this actor. I don't know if he has, it's not about the look of the character. That's the other thing that I want to try and get away from sometimes when we talk about film characters, because while I do think, the other two could have the look of a character like Sue Storm for Vanessa Kirby, I think if you play the character well, it doesn't necessarily matter what you look like as long as you can really represent that character and make it something really unique. Yeah. I don't know who Jonathan Rhys Meyers is offhand, even, to be honest. I'd have to look him up. It's not a well-known name to me, Maxim, so I wouldn't want to fake my answer on that one for you, buddy. But what I would say is that when I was looking at Ebon Moss here as a TBA and his last name Backrach, I totally thought that said back scratcher, and it made me chuckle. Made me chuckle on the inside. Then this popped up with Variety this week. Then we're going to get into some figure news here, guys, as well. 37 people watching. Hit the like button if you can, if you haven't already. I always forget to do so myself, and I appreciate that. Beyond the Spider-Verse has taken off Sony's release calendar as strikes delay Kraven Ghostbuster sequel to 2024. Now, it's saying here that pretty much at this point it's looking like Beyond the Spider-Verse is actually delayed inevitably until they announce it. Like, they've not really given us any kind of firm date on it, which is disappointing because I had recently seen, Across the Spider-Verse. Really enjoyed it. When that film, hopefully this isn't a spoiler at this point for people, when that film ends with to be continued, this is only part one. It was called part one from the beginning. We knew it was part one, but I'm not kidding. When I got to the end of that film, I was like, oh shit, there's a whole other movie that I gotta wait for now. And at the time, it was sounding like they were planning to try to have that movie out 6 months after, which I thought was really aggressive to begin with, to be honest. Especially since a lot of the actors apparently haven't even come in to actually voice their roles yet. So I thought that was really aggressive. But now it's at this point where it's kind of not really having any release date at this point at all. It's very much to be determined. I find it a little disappointing because now it's reduced the hype train for me on this film a little bit. Thomas, did you see this Across this Spider-Verse film, this most recent one? Were you getting hyped for the second?
I have not seen it yet, but I've been hearing a lot about it, and I'm one of those people that spoilers don't bother me. As a matter of fact, I'm the type of person that if a movie is based off of a book, I will read the book. I'll read the first 3 or 4 chapters and then go straight to the end and read the end. I don't worry about filling in the stuff. I just want to know how it starts and how it ends. And with the Spider-Verse, after people have mentioned so much about it being the part one, I said, okay, they're doing like they did with Harry Potter, those final 2 movies where it was a part 1 and a part 2, and like they did with the Matrix where the second and third movie were like a part 1 and a part 2, and like Kill Bill was a volume 1 and a volume 2, where it was kind of like they're going to leave you in a little bit of suspense knowing that there's going to be a follow-up. So I was like, okay, well, this kind of makes sense. I get it. They want to kind of stretch this out a little bit, so I don't mind it. But so I'm probably the person that's probably least disappointed about it. But I can understand how people would be, because most people want that sense of closure. And problem number 2, what if something happens like what happened with Warner not Warner Brothers, with the DC stuff, and what like the Batwoman, not Batwoman, Batgirl movie. What if something happens and they just decide not to release the second part, so you're just winding up in limbo?
That would suck.
That would suck bad. So,
I still felt like Across the Universe was a relatively complete movie, even though it was part 1 of part 2. But it does leave a lot on the table to still be seen. I want to bring this up really quickly, just for the character that we were asking about with regards to, is his name Jonathan Rhys Meyers. Let's see here, share screen. Let's bring this up. This is who that actor is. Now that I've seen his face, I do recognize him from Tudors. My mom actually really liked that show, and so I do recognize him as a I don't know, as a Mr. Fantastic. I don't know. Again, it's not about the look of the character; it's about what he brings to the role, right? For me, that character needs to be and appear like the most intelligent person out there, like the most. I don't know if this actor's got those chops or not, but I haven't seen him in much beyond Tudors, so I guess will remain to be seen. Pete, do you have any thoughts on Beyond the Spider-Verse being delayed like this, or is this kind of just par for the course now because of everything going on in Hollywood?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse yet, so I've heard it's very good. My missus and my son went and saw it a little while ago. So yeah, I suppose from my point of view, I haven't not seen that one yet, so I'm not too worried about delays on the third part. But obviously, and there was quite a massive gap between the first one and the second one, wasn't there? So absolutely, it's not out of the norms of sort of normal schedules and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Action Figure Academy here says Marvel can't afford to put it out. Advertising will cost a mint. They're already losing money hand over fist. Now, is it Marvel or Sony though that's really footing the bill at that point for these films? Hard to say.
Yeah, I think Sony. It was to be Sony for the animated film.
Blazing Agent says that actor that we just pulled up, Jonathan Rhys Meyers, was also in Velvet Goldmine. I don't see him as Reed Richards. He is more of a playboy vibe. But again, can't judge a book by its cover. Maybe he'd be the best Reed Richards we've ever seen. Hard to say. I still think the original Fantastic Four movie, not the original, but the one that came out years ago with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans. I thought the actor who played that Reed Richards was actually awesome. I thought he fit that role really well.
Griffith.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Weird name on him. I can never remember his name.
Yeah, it's a Welsh name. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Collecting Weekly here in the chat, the Oxfather himself says, "Man, Thomas looks badass." Love to see it. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Definitely appreciate it. Now we got one more entertainment piece of news, and then we will get into some figure news here, everybody. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie on Rotten Tomatoes scores all lined up here for us. And I thought this was interesting because right now the critic rating as well as audience rating for the newest Ninja Turtles that's in theaters as of today, or well, not as of today, but currently in theaters today, is doing really well. It's at a 97% score as of this past week. When you look at that in comparison to all of the other Ninja Turtles films that have come out over the years, I gotta say, it gets me even more excited to see the movie. At first, I was kind of like, I might just wait until it comes out on streaming or on DVD, or as Marco would make fun of me, because apparently that's all we have in Canada. We have Blu-rays, and 4K, but I call it DVDs still, showing my age, a little gray. But I gotta say, like, for me, I can understand why the original 90s Ninja Turtles film is still either the second highest Rotten Tomatoes score, because for me, that's where my nostalgia lies when I think of a Ninja Turtles film. If I wanted more of a cartoon representation of the Turtles, it's definitely the 1987, early 90s Ninja Turtles. All those seasons, I absolutely loved those. But in my current collection, anyways, I've got the 90s film Turtles up above from NECA. And they're some of the best figures I have in the collection. In fact, I had a non-collector come visit me a couple weeks ago. His name is Brandon, good guy. Doesn't collect, though. It's always interesting to see what people are going to gravitate to, right, when they walk into your collection room. And I've got all these Hot Toys around me. I got all these, the expensive InArt figures and all of this stuff. And we gravitated to the Ninja Turtles, the 7-inch NECA Turtles, because they're so cool. They're so good looking. So El Profesoro in the chat, Mario himself says, don't sleep on this new movie. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining in. You're always welcome to join us on a Let's Get Nuts Sunday if you're ever free to do so, good sir. Joker J says, wouldn't it be Blu-ray in Canada, French and all? You love to see it. That's awesome. Very well said, sir. Pete, what do you think about 97% on Rotten Tomatoes for this newest Turtles film? And if you had to choose between all of the Turtles films that have ever come out, what do you think you'd watch yourself?
Yeah, it's quite surprising, really, because I don't know, I was a little bit kind of disparaging about it. I didn't really know what to expect. I thought, it doesn't really appeal to me. But seeing that, maybe it's worth a look. I mean, for me, 100% the 1990 original live action movie. It's cheesy, but I could watch that all day long over some of the others. I'm not sure I even saw the second and third ones of those. I didn't mind the animated one that came out a few years ago, but I didn't really love it. So no, this is interesting. Might be worth checking it out.
I'll be curious to see what happens with their voices, because this is the first film where they're actually voiced by true teenagers. And I've had times in my life where my voice has definitely crackled through through puberty, right? And so I'll be curious to see how they sound in a couple of years when maybe the next film comes out. Will they actually sound aged up? But will that be a good thing? Will it feel like we're growing up with this set of Turtles? Jose G. Hernandez says, Mario, where are you hiding this Sunday afternoon? Jose, if I'm not mistaken, you said you liked the Ninja Turtles 3 film the best, which for me had the most suspect animatronics of any of the Turtles films. They were scary looking, very Nightmare Fuel-ish. but I also know he wanted to collect from there. So I don't know if he just likes the movie or simply just wanted to collect from it. You can clarify that down below, Jose. So, and again, Mario, always welcome to join in, buddy, if you ever want to pop through. Let's get into some figure news, guys. So first up, we're going to take a look at the Hot Toys D100 version of the Mark 7 suit has finally been released. We're getting to see some of the blogger photos now. This is one that honestly I didn't get into. It just wasn't for me. I did not put myself in the queue to try and get one of these figures in hand. But I've seen some pretty cool photos from these blogger pictures that do make me excited for the folks that are getting it. I think it looks really beautiful. And the Mark 7 suit, for me, between the Mark 7 and the Mark 3, I think are my two favorite Iron Man suits. I chose the Mark 7 originally because they didn't have a die-cast Mark 3 out yet. And I wanted to get as close to that walking through the desert scene in the first Iron Man film as I could get in terms of like the mech style, red Iron Man suit. Mark 7 was the closest I could get at that time. Pete, what's your favorite Iron Man suit if you had to choose for a collection?
Yeah, I've had a few. I mean, I don't collect Marvel anymore, but I started off. I had the original plastic Mark 7. Then I changed that up to the Mark 46, which is a very nice figure. And then I swapped that out for the concept version because it had more gold on it, which I quite liked. Because the 46 is pretty much all red. But I don't have an Iron Man now. But I think on reflection, I think the 7 is definitely my favourite, and it's very tempting to get back into it because I see a lot of the die-cast Mark 7s for quite cheap money. I mean, it's about £250, and to think they were going for 3 times that, a couple of years back.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it's kind of tempting to dip my toe back in there again, but I'm trying to stay strong and stay away from Marvel. But for me, yeah, the Mark 7 it's big and chunky, and it probably had some of the best scenes of in its movie incarnation in Avengers. So Mark 7 for me.
Absolutely. Action Figure Academy says Invisible Iron Man is my favorite. I'm pretty out. That's fair. Yeah. AJ Crusoe says the 85 or the 7 or maybe the Silver Centurion. I still do kind of want to get the Battle Damaged 85 in my collection, mostly because I do have the Battle Damaged Thanos, and I think it would be cool to have them displayed together.
Yeah, makes sense.
But then it's like, do you get also then try and get the Mark 1 so I can have like my favorite suits, which I think would then technically be the Mark 1, the Mark 3, the Mark 7, and the Mark 85. So then that's still 4 Iron Man suits. So, but then I'm getting into that point of having like an Iron Man collection or like a whole set. It's just such a slippery slope, I find. Yeah. And there are figures right now that Sideshow, for example, is having a hard time getting rid of, like that hologram Iron Man that like they were literally trying to give that figure away and people were rejecting it in the basket. Like it's crazy. Yeah. So on figures like this D100 version, I think this will have some collectability, of course, because it was limited. But I'm happy to still have the original Mark 7. I don't feel like I needed both, at least not for my collection. I would be curious, and of the folks that got this coming to you, do you have an original Mark 7 as well, or is this going to be your first Mark 7 in your collection? Joker J says, I love this suit. It's why I got the Midas. Once things settle, perhaps I'll grab this guy where I can find him. 100%. I mean, again, if it's one of those ones that resonates with you, I think that's kind of the best part. F. Wellington says this Iron Man was 100% fear of missing out. Thus, I backed away from the queue for it. Can't give in to the fear. Fair enough. I heard somebody say JOMO the other day, or the joy of missing out, and that made me laugh because I was like, there has to be a little bit of joy in being able to decide not to pick up a figure sometimes, right? When you know your wallet is safe on this one, there's a little joy there too, because it does reserve a couple of those dollars maybe for something else. You're going to want more.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Pete, but I hate trying to sell a hot toy. Honestly, especially right now, even with them becoming more, in quotes, collectible again, I just don't like the process of trying to sell figures.
Yeah, I don't. I've sold hundreds, so I'm fairly used to it. But I think it's not a good time at the moment. I think there's a lot of stuff out there, and prices aren't necessarily good for the seller. But no, I've sold more figures than I currently own. So and mostly it's been a fairly decent process, but I don't mind. If I've been very much of the case of if I get bored with a figure, and again Marvel, I got into that in sort of 2012 when Hot Toys first started bringing out all the Avengers, and I got all into that. But kind of as I think as Endgame and everything, it kind of wrapped it up, and I was done with Marvel by then. I still appreciate them as decent movies, but they're never going to have that same resonance that Star Wars in the 80s stuff has with me, and that's kind of why I've focused my collection now. So as good as all the Marvel stuff is, I think it's actually quite easy for me to stay away from it, because it doesn't it entertains the head but not the heart. So
that's a good way to look at it too. That should be a t-shirt itself. We're making all the t-shirts from today, guys.
Sounds cool. Yeah.
we have a very special guest in the stream with us today. El Profesoro himself, Mr. Mario. First time on Let's Get Nuts Sunday, buddy. Good to see you.
Hey, man. And I'm here to entertain the head. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, buddy.
Hey, Mario, you okay?
I'm doing well, dude. How you doing, Pete? It's been a long time.
It's been a very long time, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, man. No, good to see you guys again, man.
Heck
Good to see you guys.
Absolutely. I know you were saying, Mario, in the back there, that you were saying that you had some thoughts on TMNT.
I loved it. Like, real talk, this is probably the best TMNT movie out there.
Really?
Seriously,
okay.
it was that good. I mean, the inspiration from the Spider-Verse is definitely there as far as like the animation style, but to me it really captured the fact that they're kids. We've never seen that in a Ninja Turtle movie. They're really usually portrayed as like young adults or something like that, but they're kids. I've never seen that before, man. And my heart is with the original comics. The first runs from back in the day, right? I mean, when I first saw, please don't put me on full screen. When I first saw, when I first grew up with these things, I mean, when the animated films or series started coming out, right? And then I worked my way back to the original, the Mirage comics way back in the day, and I love those things to death, man. Those are my favorite iterations. But these guys, I mean, it's completely different, man. It's the writing was brilliant. I'm hearing complaints about the jokes and the campiness. I thought it worked well. And it's a completely different movie, man.
That's awesome.
But it's overall, it's amazing. I really enjoyed it a lot, man. And I didn't fall asleep. So what does that say?
I was literally just going to say that, because I know you sometimes fall asleep in the movie. So if that's a good Mario sign. That's a thumbs up.
Well,
right
I mean,
there, buddy.
the fact too that I wasn't sitting in a recliner also helped. You know what I mean? So, but still, I mean, I was completely engaged from start to finish. The beginning got me, dude. I mean, it just completely grabbed me and it pulled me in. You know, the very beginning of the movie. So to me, it completely set the tone. And in regards to the rest of the story, I thought it was brilliant. I really liked it a lot.
Now, for the art style and the action and stuff like that, do you feel like it's a must see in theater, or just a must see movie in general? Like, is it something that you would have been okay to wait to see on streaming or on DVD?
Considering that I'm the type that would like to go out to the theater in general. So I'm always going to lean towards that side. Hey, definitely go out to the theaters, go check it out.
Heck yeah.
But I mean, I know it's not always in the budget, or time for anybody. So either way, if you can go out there and watch it now while it's in theaters, of course, definitely. You're not going to get it's the sound, it's the big screen, it's everything, bro.
For sure. For me, it's the budget thing that you mentioned. Like, I've gone to a lot of movies lately, and I'm like, man, this is actually starting to add up quite a bit. Like, it's crazy.
Bro, down here, the AMC Pass, man, it pays for itself, man. I don't know if y'all have that out there, but
we don't have AMC here, so
that's the thing. But for $25 a month, I can see 3 movies a week, including IMAX and Dolby. Bro, sign me up. Sign me up. It's summertime, it pays for itself, like for reals.
Heck
so
yeah.
it's great.
Mario, have you ever been on stream with Classy Thomas before? Classy Thomas, Mario?
Yeah, I think we did After Dark not too long ago.
Yeah, we did.
Hey, okay, cool.
Yeah. So good to see you again, Thomas.
Yeah, good seeing you again.
Or Mr. SpongeBob SquarePants in the house.
Mario, without spoiling, obviously, if you can, F. Wellington says, Mario, does it take on a lighthearted tone or a darker tone like the original comic? And is it an origin story?
It is. It does have origin story elements. It's not like a year 2 or anything like that. You know, I mean, the kid. I'm just gonna call them the kids because that's what they really are in this movie. You know, they're exposed to the surface for the first time in this movie. So actually, yeah, it kind of is a bit of an origin story. Can I just say Jackie Chan as Splinter is freaking amazing?
Jackie Chan is that's amazing.
I loved it, dude.
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
Now the thing is that they do definitely take the movie's different. It really is. I mean, as far as like changing up some of the elements that we're all used to, it's not. I'm sure it's going to turn off some. Why am I getting feedback? I'm hearing myself. But anyway, it's going to turn off some people. I'm sure some of the purists that are really actually like the devoted fans, like, hey, they changed this, they changed that, blah 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 blah. Like for me, I totally get it, but I was able to look past it and still enjoy it for what it was. It is a bit of a lighter tone, you know, of a movie. It's not completely dark, which makes sense. But again, it's a great movie. Don't sleep on it, y'all. Like
That's awesome. I'm happy you joined in just to tell me that, because like that actually has got me like pumped up way more than I even
Ben,
was.
go see it. Go see it, man.
Heck yeah.
No,
Well, I've got
I'm
tomorrow
sure
off. It's a
do.
long weekend in Canada. I've got tomorrow off. Maybe I will go
Oh,
see
nice. Nice.
Joker J says, I've fallen asleep to Flash 5 times now. All bad timing, not reflective of the movie. Why have you tried to see it 5 different times? If that's the case, that is some dedication to a movie.
Well, I fell asleep during the Batman 3 times already, man. I've tried, but I can't do it, man. That's why I need to do some sort of watch along with you guys, man. Do something to try to hold me accountable. Myself, P-Rock, and Joao. We're trying to plan it, you know, so we can do something. But we'll see.
P-Rock's just gonna smoke into oblivion. I don't even know if he'll know he's watching the movie. I'll be like, oh, I'd love to see it. Love those guys. Murray here says NECA better tackle these turtles. I could see that, with the exception of them being a more animated style. I'd be curious to see how NECA would put that together. And if you were asking Marco from 166, he would tell you, fuck NECA. So, because he got a bent box one time and he's never let it go. So, and then F. Wellington says, no AMC Blu-ray costs $4,000, 4K. We go on strike, Ben.
Oh, God.
For sure. It 4K DVDs, guys. Come on. Now, Mario, what do you think of the D100 Iron Man here? Is this one that you would pull the trigger on?
No, not necessarily. Look, I'm really not a fan of the fact that this is a representation of a D100. I would have preferred something more traditional. It's a D100 celebration in regards to the Disney studio. Why is Iron Man being the representative of this thing? This doesn't make any sense. I'd rather see something like a Steamboat Willie or something like that. I think that would have been perfect. Right. But the fact that they did this, okay. So at its surface, I am not a fan of the paint app, but I do love the design of the suit. It looks incredible. Absolutely. I think the design of the suit, it's always been there. Hot Toys have done the Mark 7 over and over and over and over and over again, in all kinds of different iterations. But this particular paint scheme, I really don't care for. So when it came out, I just whatever. I really had no interest in it.
The paint scheme really reminds me of the Mark V, right? Like, to me, when I first looked at it, I had to be like, oh, no, it's not a Mark V. But it kind of resembles it for sure. I did see somebody do like a fan creation photo edit of this suit, but in Mickey colors. So like red and yellow. And I was like, actually, that might have been one I'd consider of getting. Like, that to me feels more 100th anniversary.
Bro, that got me in the feels, man. I ain't gonna lie. When I saw that too, Uncle Keith shared that, dude. I was like, yes, I want that. So straight up, dude, I would be in for that. I would be in for that.
Now, Joy-Con has also just been recently happening, and we finally got a chance to see some other Hot Toys a little closer up, ones that we've only seen really solicitation photos for. And so this one was one that, sorry, what's it called?
AnimeCon, ACGHQ, right?
So and I think they had called it Joy-Con as well. I could be wrong.
No, that was a different show. That was a different show.
Thank you for the correction. I appreciate it. The Rock popped up here, of course, as Black Adam, getting a chance to see it a little closer up in a more clear photo. And I gotta say, like, man, like, this actually looks pretty awesome. I had put myself on the wait list for this figure, but unfortunately hasn't converted yet. I didn't pre-order it early enough. Did any of you guys lock in a Black Adam after the film? Or
I did.
You did?
Oh,
Tom?
nice. Yeah, not me personally.
No.
Yeah, I locked into the. I think it's the one that has the where the lightning is kind of charred. I don't know if that's the deluxe or it was the one that had that special lightning bolt on its chest, and so that's the one I got. And now, is this the figure or is that a statue? It kind of looks like a statue to me.
No, this is the figure. This is the Hot Toys
That's the
figure.
actual figure. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Queen Studios is doing a quarter scale of him on the throne, so that's how I know that this is the figure.
Yeah. So I'm kind of pumped for it. You know, I'm going to wind up replacing his head. I have a sideshow figure. You know the Punisher sideshow Punisher figure. That's my Black Adam. So when I get this, I'm actually going to put that head on that body because he has that. Yeah, he has that widow's peak and everything like that.
I guess so. Eh?
Yeah. So I was like, that's Black Adam to me. So
That's
I'll swap heads, but I do like the. Since you're saying just a figure, I'm kind of digging what they did with it. I really like that. It looks good.
Absolutely. We got Mike Latoris asking, says, just put the kid to bed. What did I miss? So many things, Mike. So many things, including Mario is here now on a Let's Get Nuts stream. So this is an extra special Sunday. I must say, I will add your link, by the way, to the links
thanks,
down below as well. And Absolute Irwin says it was China Joy. Ben, you should talk to Viper. I would.
Ouch.
I would if he would speak to me in English. But anyways, moving on. I'm just teasing. This is a cut back to Collecting Weekly. I am not that racist. I promise you, folks. We also saw these guys up a little closer. So we're looking at Thor and, of course, Lady Thor. I didn't really like this movie, to be honest. So while I get a chance to have a closer look at the figures, these are absolutely a pass for me. Pete, was this something that was interesting for you? Did you like the film? Are these passes for you as well?
I didn't hate the film as much as a lot of people did. I found it quite enjoyable, but I'm not a fan. I'm certainly not a fan of Thor's suit. Lady Thor, it's okay, but again, I don't collect Marvel anymore, so I would just walk on by.
Totally. Mario, what would you say is the best Thor in Hot Toys we've got so far?
Oh, Infinity War, hands down. Infinity War,
Agreed.
all the way.
Agreed.
I mean,
Love that
before that, I would probably say the Age of Ultron. I think that would probably be the best one, but I really like the Infinity War version. You know, I think that one there. If you would like to go ahead and get Mjolnir as well, just to make him the definitive, because it came out. It has swappable arms. It's got different looks to this thing. You take the cape out, put the eye patch on him. You know, you've got different looks to Thor. So I think that's one of the more. It's the most bang for your buck in a sense. Was the Infinity War version. But Pete, I actually kind of like the armor on this thing, man. It did grow on me, you know, a little bit. But the movie is just straight horseshit, man. I'm not a fan of it. I mean, Lady Thor, I appreciate her aesthetically. I think she looks fantastic. But I mean, no, these aren't for me.
For sure. So I got a question then for you guys, because I saw this posed in one of the group chats the other day. Apologies, can't remember which one it was, but the person was asking, when we as like content creators talk about figures, you know, especially like hitting the bargain bin, and maybe I'll consider it if it hits the bargain bin, what's the bargain bin discount you guys need for you to consider purchasing a figure that otherwise you'd be like, nah, I can pass on it? Maybe like these guys. If you saw a discount on these, what percentage would you need it to be at to consider?
For me, there is no such thing as a bargain bin price. It's either I want the figure or I don't.
Okay.
You know, so there is no price. If I have my mind made up that I don't want it, I'm not going to get it, regardless if it's going to be so heavily discounted where it becomes an impulse buy. I'm not going to do that. I just don't want it in the collection. That's just
smart.
more. That's just more, you know, space taken up, real estate that I can use for something else.
Well, because you got to move it on then after too, right? If you get it in hand and you're like, I still don't want it, now I got to move it on, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm good.
For sure. Man. What about you, Pete? Same question?
Yeah, I think I agree with Mario. I think having been collecting for a long time, it's one of the lessons you learn that, you know, in
Yep.
the early days,
100%.
you pounce on stuff because you think that's a good price, and you can be really so about the figure, and you just end up with stuff. You look at it and go, that's nothing for me. Why did I buy that? And so no, I still get it occasionally. I'll see something and I think, oh, I might give that a go, and then I have to kind of just say, you don't need it. You've got nowhere to put it, and as you say, even if it's half price, that's still halfway to a figure that I really want in my collection. So
Right.
Totally.
Or statue.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Great answers, and honestly well thought out. I'd put it out there. 30% is still kind of a bit of a hook for me. If it's a figure that I was on the
Wow.
fence for,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I could pass, then I think 30% is kind of in that.
Yeah,
that
if
neighborhood.
you were interested in it anyway, I think, you know.
Yeah,
You're right.
If I was like, I straight up don't want it, then yeah, no discount will make me put it in the collection.
Yeah.
With the exception of if they do a sideshow special like they were trying to do, as I said, with hologram Iron Man, or was the Captain Marvel figure.
Giving
I
it
almost
away.
got that one locked in, and then I missed that sale by apparently like 10 minutes because I was looking for other figures that I could buy that I would want to get the free figure, and I'm not getting. I missed it by 5 minutes. But when I say figures that I'm on the fence for, these are two examples of that. I didn't love the She-Hulk show necessarily. I didn't hate it either. But these two characters from the show in figure format, I'm kind of like, they're not bad, to be honest. I think they're kind of cool, and they represent, not only a bit of a comic aspect of the collection, but I also don't have a Daredevil to pair with my Punisher figure, and a She-Hulk in the collection could be pretty cool. If these hit a bargain bin at some point of 30%, they'd be likely coming to my collection. I would much more consider it. That is if, of course, it doesn't go waitlist before any of us have an opportunity to consider that now. But Thomas, I know you were saying earlier today that you liked the She-Hulk show for the most part, more than others. Did you pick up either of these characters, or plan to pre-order anyways from the show?
Yeah, I actually have them both on order. So yeah, so I'm definitely getting both of them, and I'm not crazy about the picture, but I do like seeing the these prototypes, and they look good. I especially really like the yellow and the yellow and red. I wish that we had a little bit more yellow in there to kind of remind me of the comic book version. But I really enjoy this. Plus, I know they're going to come out with another Daredevil suit. So, and Daredevil is one of my all-time favorite characters. So that would be one where I wouldn't mind having several different versions of him. And I love the She-Hulk, especially the fact that she has seamless arms, seamless legs. And the same thing with Mighty Thor. I noticed that her arms are seamless, as are Thor's. I don't really like his uniform, so he's a pass. But I also have Mighty Thor on order, so I'm really enjoying both of these. The more I look at it, I'm like, I feel like I made a good choice of them.
That's fair, absolutely. The Legion Agent says, I really enjoyed the John Byrne She-Hulk run in the comics, but wouldn't get into the show, or couldn't get into the show.
Yeah.
Mike Latour says, I will wait for bargain bin when it comes to army building. 25% off more is nice. 100%. I mean, any discount is nice, but for me, it's always like when you see those 10% off discounts, I'm like, no, it's not enough to push me over the edge by any stretch. Even a figure like Kang here, I'll be curious to see if this ever actually sees the light of day truly. But before some of the controversy with regards to Jonathan Majors, I was like, I liked him in the Quantumania movie probably the most of all of the cast, honestly, and that would have been the figure I would have collected. It'll just be curious to see if we actually get a chance to see this one again, see the light of day, and then getting a chance to have a bit better of a look anyways at the Dark Flash from the Flash film. That character, I feel like, didn't even really need to exist in the film for it to have been pretty much the same movie. So not one that I would pick up. But I do think that some of the Ezra likeness that we're seeing here, or the Ezra Miller likeness that we're seeing from this Flash, but also the other version that we're seeing of Flash, looks pretty good. This head sculpt specifically of Ezra looks fantastic. Now, Mario, I want to get your take on this one because obviously, shout out to bow_figure_photography for posting this. There's been a lot of talk about Rooted Hair and the Artisan series for Hot Toys, and we've seen varying levels of photographs from what we think this figure will look like in hand. This is one of the clearest photos I've seen so far of this figure. Did you try and get this one locked in for your collection?
I don't think it's available for us to try to lock it in yet.
You're not wrong. Absolutely. Apologies. Rephrase. Will you be planning on doing that if and when available?
No.
Okay.
This looks incredible. I think they did an amazing job with the head sculpt. I mean, with the rooted hair. But for me personally, the way that I collect Star Wars is that I really love the fact that this is limited. Okay, I know there's a lot out there that really want this figure, but the thing is when Hot Toys brings some sort of limited availability to something, it just makes this piece that much more special. But the shitty part is the fact that there's gonna be scalpers that's gonna try to get this thing. When scarcity is a thing, that's when all the scalpers usually come out. It sucks, but that's just what it is. But going back to what I was mentioning, the way that I collect Star Wars is that if I already have accepted the fact that there's no way to be able to get this, right? And if I even try, if I actually were able to get some sort of artisan version of a Star Wars character later down the line, it's gonna bug the crap out of me the fact that I missed out on one of them. Yeah. And all I'm just gonna see is a giant hole in the collection. So mentally, no, I am not collecting any of these. But I will try to get this for a dear friend of mine.
Hey, there you go.
And it's not.
It's not yourself.
Real talk. It's not for me. It's for somebody. I don't want to say
yes,
who.
A friend. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a friend named Mario.
No.
I won't say his last name.
You will not see this in my collection. You will not, unless someone gifts it or something like that. I'm not going to say no, but you will not see this figure in my collection at all. So, real talk.
Absolutely. I want to hear from the chat as well. If you had the choice, would you get this version or would you get Dark Side Anakin version if they come out with it? Same rooted hair, same everything else, but just Dark Side instead. We haven't obviously seen that teased yet, but with this being a limited option, I'll be curious if we get the Dark Side version. It would not surprise me. Thomas, what would you choose? Dark Side Anakin or Light Side Anakin if you had the choice?
I don't really know what the Dark Side Anakin is, but
so
I mean,
so like for example,
yellow eyes.
Yeah, in Attack of the
Clones,
this table
wasn't in front of me, I'd pull it down.
When he starts going to the dark side, basically, and you see the yellow eyes, you see him kill the kids, or lightsaber all the children. Unfortunately, he's going pretty dark side at that point, and not looking like himself.
If I was going to choose between what you just described and this, I would go for this a little bit more. I mean, I'm a sucker for a villain, but I don't know. There's some things I kind of don't know. I think because I don't have enough of a connection to the prequels of Star Wars, I would just go for the one that is the most appealing looking. And to me, this would be more appealing than something with yellow eyes. Mm-hmm. But I doubt that I would go for this one either. I mean, if I'm going to get something with rooted hair, it needs to be something that I really care for because, rooted hair can be challenging to maintain and take care of.
It's a commitment.
And it does require a little bit of fussing, which I don't mind. But if I'm gonna do that amount of fussing, it needs to be for something that I really, really like.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. I don't have an Anakin Skywalker in my collection yet. For me, it would be the dark side version. But I think because I would want to pair it with the Obi-Wan Kenobi Vader that I've got coming here, hopefully pretty soon, that has like the split mask, so you can see Anakin's face under the Vader mask. I think having dark side Anakin next to that, just to see kind of that transition, that could be a really cool looking display for sure.
Is that the scarred up face?
The scarred up. Well, it's like you can see like half of his face through his mask, which is really, really cool looking. We got a couple of comments here. So Maxime M says dark side if the price was the same. Blazonesian says a light side for me. AJ Agarusa, great comment here, says such a tough decision but it was this version in the movie more, so that would probably be my deciding factor. Blazing Agent also says, I'm a prequel defender ready to take on all challenges with a sunglass base. Now, I don't want to poke the bear too much, Mario. Okay, I don't want to poke the bear too much, but you're here, and I hadn't had a chance to ask you too many questions. You were really liking your
Poke away.
You were really liking your InArt Joker. When you first got it in hand, you were pretty excited about it. And then I tuned into a stream, I'm not kidding, like a day later. You were talking about the fact that you were not having a great time with your InArt Joker. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have to know, tell me more. And you very briefly gave me some comments. But what are you thinking about your InArt Joker now? And when you see this photo of the now sculpted Joker from Hot Toys a little closer up, are you regretting your decision to go with it?
Hell no. No.
Okay.
No.
Tell me how you
I think. Okay, despite its issues that I may have with it, I still think it's an amazing figure. Considering, so I have the I don't know what it's called. It's not deluxe. It's whatever the Rooted 2-pack is called. I personally think the value is there after breaking everything down, considering the fact that you're getting 2 rooted figures. The paint apps, I think they're better than anything that Hot Toys has done yet, in my opinion, with the figures that I have in my collection. The magnetic base, it's a hit and miss for me. The jail cell diorama, all the different weapons, all the different accessories, all kinds of swap outs. There's so many different looks to this figure for the InArt one, where I think the value is actually there. My frustrations lie with the base. This thing is so sensitive to where, like, I have this thing on the table right now, right? So when I would get up and kind of like lean on this table, it would automatically topple over. So I've been talking with some other people about, hey, am I setting this up wrong? And some seem to think I may have a defective base, so I'm gonna see what I can do to get that rectified. But aesthetically, it's amazing. I love it. It's a 10 out of 10. As far as the rooted hair is concerned, all the tailoring, I love it. It's amazing. And by no means, I think the actual likeness itself is closer to Heath Ledger than whatever Hot Toys is putting out right here. I do also say that this sculpted version does look better to me than the rooted version what Hot Toys is offering.
Yes,
and plus the fact that it's also isn't limited. This is actually available for everybody else to get. I will suggest, for those that really want it, consider getting the sculpted version over the rooted. And also not just for the availability, but for the price. If we're going to try to get this thing in the States, Sideshow is going to be pushing about $600 for this thing shipped.
That's insane.
It's already expensive, but I know someone say, yeah, but you paid $1,000 for a 2-pack. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Break it down though. Break it down. I mean,
yes.
Even at Hot Toys' most expensive figure right now, like say it's an Iron Man figure, $400 a pop. Okay, I got mine for like what, 1,100 shipped or something like that after tax and shipping. Say if I get it for $849 for the Hong Kong price, that's still a much better deal than what, considering the 2-pack than what Hot Toys is offering, at all. But if I didn't have this, and if I were waiting for Hot Toys, this is an amazing offering, this particular one here.
I think my biggest challenge when it comes to looking at the Hot Toys version versus the InArt version, because I agree with all of your points, Mario. Well said, by the way. I'm glad to hear that you're still happy with the figure itself and the value, and it's really just a base challenge. I don't have my figure on a base, so like my Joker is standing up behind me, as you can see, holding the grenades out of his jacket, without the base at all, and he hasn't fallen even one single time. I almost wonder if the magnets are actually pulling on your figure in a bit of a weird way, kind of like you said, almost like defective in the sense that it's making
it kind of is. It kind of is, because I mean, depending on where I place it on the base, one foot seems to be more magnetized than the other, so the figure will actually pivot way easier than what it should. It's not, both feet don't seem to be locked in place, but consider the fact that I'm in earthquake country as well, so all my figures are on bases, man. I don't want to take the chance of anything toppling over. I've dealt with that, when I collected like 6-inch figures and stuff like that. I hated it.
For sure.
The fact that nothing will balance, I really appreciate the base, so I just use them, as they're offered.
Mario, I had the 2-pack Joker also. And I think on my second video that I put out, I did some experimenting with that base, and I made a suggestion which I'm sure InArt didn't listen to. I said, instead of using magnets on the base, they need to use a metal plate. a very thin metal plate, and put magnets on the feet. Because what they did is that they have a placement of the magnets in the base. And if that foot, and also, if you notice, the toe of the foot kind of curves upward.
Yes.
So you don't get a completely flat base. You just get it under the magnet is on the ball of the foot, and then there is no magnet on the heel. So it's basically just. Oh, there is? Okay,
there is. Yeah.
Okay, so mine, I couldn't find it magnetized, but but what happens is that if it's not set directly over that magnet, it's not stable. But if it's on a metal base, it'll stick no matter where you put it. And that was the issue that I had with those magnets. I said they just need to change the base, put a very thin slab of metal underneath it. And then that way you can place it anywhere. You can place that figure anywhere on it, and it's going to be a little bit more secure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Well said. Keep in mind, though, Thomas, if InArt were to give us a metal plate in the base, that's a significant more amount of die cast. So I could see that being an extra $200
thin metal
per
plate?
figure. I'm just kidding. I'm just being a bastard. I think the big thing for me, the big takeaway that I feel with the Hot Toys version is not that I think one is significantly better than the other. I think they both have some really great qualities. For me, it has more to do with the fact that the DX11 Joker, so the previous Hot Toys version, not only did it come with a chair, it came with a table, it came with not one head sculpt, but two. And that second head sculpt was a laughing expression. And it's the Joker. He's laughing all the time. Like, to me, if I were Hot Toys, I would have seen what InArt did and tried to one-up them in any way, shape, or form, any way possible. I would have bought another Joker, which to me is mind-blowing because I would have 3 Jokers in hand if that was the case. But I would have bought another one of these Jokers if it was this quality but with a laughing head sculpt, either in addition to or just in general. This expression, while I think it is good, and this picture specifically, as well as this photo that was shared, I do think looks really, really well painted and like pretty strong likeness. I agree with you, Mario. The sculpted version for the head for the Hot Toys is, in my opinion, the way to go. But it's still not the release that I feel like it should be for the dollar amount that they're asking for these days.
Now, what are
I'm
they
not a
asking
fan
for?
of the open mouth, to be honest. I don't like that look.
It does look like he's about to say some of the iconic lines that he says. Like, I don't think it's like, it looks like he's mid-sentence, which I think is a little strange. It is an odd choice, though, I will say. But guys in the chat, let us know what you guys think. Has these photos that we're seeing now of the Hot Toy sculpted version, is it changing your mind? Were you previously saying to yourself, there's absolutely no way I'd get a third Joker if you already have maybe 2 others from InArt? Or are you going to be like our buddy Marco out there, who has, I think, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 purple coat Jokers in his collection very soon. Crazy. She said no podcast is going to be exploding here anytime, I'm sure, with Gigi's perspective.
And Gigi hasn't left his ass yet.
There you go. Now, Pete, this one came up this week as well. So I'd actually forgot this figure was even coming, to be honest. The only reason it was even on my radar was my buddy Jeff, who is just becoming a figure collector in the last 2 years. This was one of his very first pre-orders that he's ever done, and he was all excited because he reaches out to me when it first was solicited and says, "Ben, guess what? I just bought a figure. I'm so excited." I'm like, "That's amazing. What one did you get?" And it was this one, and I was like, "Ooh, shit! Well, that could be like 2 years away. Like, they may put this on the back burner for a while." It came out sooner than it was actually advertised to do so. I was expecting it still somewhere in the next month or 2 based on its original time window. It did come out pretty quick, but it's not necessarily a super difficult figure to piece together. And the reason I say piece together is, to me, a lot of this doesn't necessarily look all that original. I think that this is the Johnny Silverhand head sculpt. I don't know where they got the glasses from, but those, like, I don't remember those glasses specifically in the movie, so if they were this big, correct me in the chat. I don't remember them looking this silly, though. Very bug-eyed. It looks like he took some sunglasses from his mom's drawer. I don't like it. The bullet time effect, I think, is very cool. And one of the things that we're seeing right now with Sideshow, especially if that's where you order from like I do here in Canada, is that a lot of these figures, including this one already, is already a waitlisted figure. So it's not giving us a lot of time to see what it looks like in hand, see blogger photos and all of those things, to then make the choice to buy. It's making it that you have to go and find it elsewhere, which is what it is. That's it. Collectability is becoming more collectible. I appreciate that. But with regards to this figure, I just kind of find it to be a bit of a boring release. Now, I will say that I am really wanting that John Wick that was recently teased. I think that figure looks fantastic so far from the prototype. And I do behind me have the Matrix, like the first Matrix figure in my collection, where he's got all the holsters around his arms and his legs, packed with guns. Really cool figure. Actually, when I take the glasses off, I actually think it kind of looks a little bit like Justin from Justin's collection. They could definitely update that. It does. I'll show you guys later. They could update that figure a little bit at this point. I think I would have been more excited to see a reissue of that original Neo than this one. But I also think for me, it had to do with the film. I didn't love the film. In fact, I really didn't enjoy it at all. I honestly think I could have just never seen it and been totally happy with the original 3 in my mind's eye. Pete, what do you think about Neo here? Did you like the film, or did you like the character or the film that's coming out here?
I haven't watched the film. I'm not a massive.
Don't do it. Save yourself 2 hours.
No, I'm not a massive Matrix fan. To be honest. I didn't mind the original when it first came out, because from a technical standpoint it was fantastic with the bullet time and everything, and I did quite enjoy it. I didn't care for the sequels, and I had no interest in watching this whatsoever. So for me, yeah, it's very much no interest at all really in this one. It looks okay, but again, it's very, very simple. It's in terms of the outfit and everything, it's nothing really exciting to have on the shelf.
For sure. Mario, do you think we're going to get any companion pieces with this figure, or is this it? Is this a one and done for that film?
This is a one and done. This is a one and done, dude. This movie wasn't really received that well. I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, after hearing everyone's thought, I want to see it that much more right now. I just looked, and it is available on HBO right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a watch sometime. But to be honest, I think this figure is actually growing on me, man. I'm really digging it aesthetically. The likeness appears to be a little bit stronger compared to the John Wick one. The original Neo, I did have it. I sold it off recently just because I felt like, I've got John Wick next to him, I got Neo next to him, and the way that I posed Neo was more like I had it in a pose that was more suited to a more recent version of Neo, like in the Superman outfit, pretty much, rather than the trench coat and all the guns. So for me, I was like, let's get rid of it, so I sold it off. But I'm really liking this look, man. Even though it may be considered a boring figure, it's Superman's a boring figure too. He comes with a bunch of fists. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's freaking Superman. But this one we actually get drugs. I love that. I love the fact that we actually get drugs in a freaking and a little bottle with it too. So that's great. That's great, man. If an opportunity to pick this up, I may consider it, but it's something like way down the line. But I wouldn't mind having this in the collection.
For sure. Thomas, if they give us a rooted version of this figure, would you buy it over the sculpted, or do you think the sculpted version would be the one that would come to your collection?
No, I think the sculpted. I think the sculpted version looks really good. I mean, Sideshow. I mean, I'm not Sideshow. Hot Toys has been doing really, really well with their sculpted hair lately, and I've been very impressed. And I think this looks amazing. I'm just kind of wondering what all he comes with, other than the fist, the drugs, and the bullets. But yeah, this looks really good. I doubt that I would go out of my way to get it, but I'm not turning my nose up. Like if I got it at a real good discount, or if a good friend decided, you know what, I'm going to get him the Matrix because Thomas is really classy and is a lot of fun. He's a cool guy. I'm going to gift him a Matrix figure. Hint, hint, anybody on the panel. But yeah, I don't think that I would necessarily go out of the way. But yeah, I do like the sculpted hair. This is a good version.
Do you think it has a strong likeness to Keanu Reeves?
I do. I think especially there's the one the front facing headshot. I think that looks really nice. It looks a little younger because, Well, maybe because they have him a little bit better shaven. Because in John Wick with the scruffy hair, scruffy beard, it makes him look a little bit older. But this right here, where it's a little bit more cleaned up, he looks actually a little bit younger than I've seen him in a while. But it looks really good.
I still think if you didn't have a John Wick figure in your collection, you could totally put guns in this guy's hand and pass it off as John Wick. I feel like Keanu is getting to that stage in his career now where he's just like, this is just what I look like now, and cast me in a movie if you like the look of it. It's getting really hard to differentiate them. I think it's Bob Dylan, our friend Bob Dylan out there. I think he has something like 14 different John Wicks in his collection.
Really?
At this point. He's got a ton of them. So very cool setup. But guys, let us know in the chat, are you guys getting this particular figure? Did you guys like the Resurrections Matrix film? Let Mario know, especially if he should take 2 hours of his precious life to actually watch that film, or save himself the time. My vote would be, I would save yourself the time.
Yeah, Max and Bama's are telling me no, don't do it.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Yeah. For sure. Now, I know, Mario, you are a big Star Wars guy.
What makes you say that?
But you're right. Perception, it's key. But this past weekend, there's been Star Trek Con happening in Las Vegas. Star Trek Con.
What's that?
Yes. So Star Trek is a sci-fi series. You guys know what Star Trek Con is. Now, our buddy Anthony, 6 Scale Mafia, has been working the EXO-6 booth there. EXO-6 is obviously currently the licensed company that produces Star Trek figures. And I reached out to Anthony to say, is it cool if I use a couple of your photos for my show today? And he was generous enough to say, absolutely. Please go over and subscribe to 6 Scale Mafia if you have not already had the chance. Awesome dude. And take some wicked pictures. This figure popped up. This is Star Trek Discovery Captain Pike. And Anthony actually got some video footage of the actor himself at the Star Trek Con looking at this figure and having a big smile on his face, which I thought was really, really cool. This is one of Anthony's pictures, and I want to celebrate Anthony's pictures. There's a bit of a misconception in the Star Trek community right now of figure collectors that the solicitation photos of EXO-6 are Anthony's pictures. That is not true. That is not the case. So Anthony does the video tutorials for the EXO-6 figures once he gets them in hand for EXO-6, but he doesn't actually do the solicitation pictures. So if you had that conception, shed it. That's not the case. One of the reasons I want to celebrate Anthony here is because his photos are fantastic. And in my opinion, for figures that are not cheap and are slowly becoming more and more expensive, you need to have good blogger photos. It just is the way that it is. Now, one of the challenges he shared with me in the past is because they come from China, it would be hard for him to get them quickly enough to be able to get photos, to be able to then have solicitation photos go out. So I think that's part of the logistical challenge there. But I would be willing to wait as a 6 scale collector, because some of these photos that we're seeing of some of the Discovery line here, this being a solicitation picture, but then seeing Anthony's picture, like, these bring these characters to life.
Can you go back to that last photo real quick? Because to me that doesn't make. Look at the lighting. Why is this the sun behind him and he's got lighting on his right side of his face? It doesn't make any sense.
None of the solicitation photos from EXO-6 make any sense. They're often very blurry. They're often have different levels of saturation. So, like, from photo to photo, we just saw Kira from Deep Space Nine recently, and in some photos she had a bright red outfit, and in other photos she's got like a deep burnt orange outfit. Like, there's almost no consistency. So again, seeing what these actually look like through the lens of a good camera is a huge win for EXO-6 collectors. Now, I will admit, I am not a huge Star Trek Discovery fan. Strange New Worlds fan yet. I've enjoyed most of the first season. I haven't finished it quite yet, and I have not got into the second season. But I think the figures look pretty cool. I just don't have really necessarily the desire to pick them up. But I wanted to showcase them there because obviously, again, Anthony's going out of his way to take some good pictures for all of us there. Let me know, guys, in the chat, though, are you picking up any of these not Discovery lines, any of these Strange New World lines of figures? Did you like the show well enough? I see this vast separation of quality when it comes to EXO-6. Pete, what are your thoughts of these Strange New World figures? Have you watched the show at all yet?
Yeah, I've watched the first season, and I've seen a couple of episodes of the second season. I like it. I think mainly from a kind of nostalgia point of view, because it quite nicely sort of invokes the original series. But yeah, I quite like it. I think of these five here, I think the Pike and Spock look good. This lady here in the red, sorry, I don't know her name.
She looks the strangest in my opinion, but
yeah, I think that the female figures don't look as strong as the two guys. You know, so again, like we've seen before, that it's very hit and miss. It's almost like they put more effort into some of the more well-known characters, and the lesser kind of more team players don't get quite as much attention. So it's good to see them. You know, it's a good way to get in the crew. Probably be a couple more figures you might have in there, but yeah, definitely Pike and Spock look good to me.
Absolutely. Mario, I know you're not a huge Star Trek guy, obviously, but is there?
You almost said Star Wars, didn't you? I heard
yes,
you.
I almost
Yeah.
Has there been any Star Trek that's ever kind of grabbed you? Is there anything that you would ever like collect from the Star Trek universe, or not?
Collect? I mean, I did see some of the Wrath of Khan figures, man, and the Spock is intriguing. As far as the boys are concerned, I know it's blasphemy amongst the fans, but I enjoy the JJ universe. I
That's
really
fair.
did.
I liked it for its time too. Back in 2009.
But yeah, but as far as anything shown here at the show, nah, there's nothing that really sparks my interest. They look good, but I mean, I have no idea who anybody is, but I'm not. No.
For sure. I do think that the actor likeness is pretty solid here. I will say though that over past years of EXO-6 like cons like this I think is my least excitement feeling within that I've had up to this point, mostly because I don't love Strange New Worlds, so I wasn't super excited about that. In the past, we've seen lots of next generation figures teased that we still haven't gotten yet, as well as things like the Wrath of Khan that we still haven't gotten yet. And my concern with EXO-6 is they keep starting lines, but very few of them are like all that complete at this point. Voyager line is the closest to a complete line that we even have at this point, but those I think so far are the worst quality of the figures that we've had from EXO-6. So that's not necessarily saying much. I'd rather have better quality and slower releases if that was a factor. And now I'm seeing, based on this con, that EXO-6 is also diving into the animated universe with the Lower Decks television show. And I think these look pretty solid, especially when looking at, you know, the animation versus the figure. I think that there's some wins here. But once again, I've got this concern that EXO-6 is spreading themselves either too thin and aren't going to be able to deliver, or they're having multiple like subcontractors essentially do their work. Is that the reason we're seeing such a vast quality difference between Voyager versus Deep Space Nine versus even some of the next generation figures that we've seen? Because here, like even all these characters here, these all look fantastic. I've got Locutus of Borg on order. I'm so excited. The Christy Alley figure here, I mean, like, she looks pretty awesome. Like, that looks just like her. And then you go back and look at, again, a Captain Janeway, and it's super, super soft. Now, these are the only next generation figures we're seeing from the Vegas con at this point, and I think that is super disappointing. While I'm excited to see Picard in his red outfit sitting there in the captain's chair, I think that is a win for collectors, and I think that Data is fantastic. I've got him on order. I still thought we'd maybe see the Riker. I thought maybe we'd see a Beverly Crusher, a Deanna Troi, a Worf. Like, there's such a full cast of next-gen characters they haven't even got started yet. And now we're, again, seeing animated figures. Pete, what do you think about EXO-6 just spreading themselves a little thin? Do you get the sense that they're also subcontracting a lot of this work for the reason for some of these quality differences?
Yeah, possibly. It's difficult to know, and that would kind of. I know that they have subcontracted some elements of some of the figures that have been released, like the body for 7 of 9, and I think the Colin R. Spock came from a subcontractor as well. So very possibly. I mean, the only real glimmer of excitement for me is seeing Savick in her Ratha Khan jacket. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be interested in getting the figure. I want Spock, Kirk, and Bones, but that's the first real kind of like what looks like a production ready Ratha Khan figure. So that is interesting to me, and I do like the work on the jacket. It looks really good.
Yeah, definitely. And rest in peace to Christy Alley for sure. Eddie Rodriguez called that out 100%. And that'll make her and that figure, I'm sure, even more collectible as it is. I actually did like the Savick, though, from the Search for Spock a little bit more. Like the actress that played her and the character herself. I enjoyed her portrayal of Savick more in Search for Spock. And, speaking of Search for Spock, we got one figure to look at from them as well here in a few minutes. But then we also saw finally what the Neelix and B'Elanna Torres may look like in the Star Trek Voyager line. And again, speaking on Voyager being kind of the softest so far of the figures, I had thought that the Neelix that they had first kind of teased us with, the prototype, was looking really, really strong. And then seeing this here at the con, I'm not as convinced. I think that the paint apps are pretty good, but I think that the mouth expression is a really odd choice when it comes to Neelix. What do you think, Pete, on this Neelix figure? Weird expression, or do you think it's passable based on the character?
I can't really. I'm looking on my phone.
You're looking at a phone, yeah. We're gonna get a real close up of Pete here in a second, guys.
Yeah, I can't.
Can't see too long.
No, I can't really tell. It's a shame because the original one looked really strong. So if they have
really strong
weakened that, then I mean, and again, I saw some Voyager. I don't know how important a character he is to Voyager fans, really.
He's probably the most annoying character in the show, but also almost appears in like what feels like every episode, because he's also he becomes kind of the chef.
I think I found him annoying. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Ben,
go ahead.
Two slides back, who was the character with the one with the necklace and the fur stole? I mean, the fur sleeves. Who was that?
That is Judge Q from the very first Judge Q. The letter Q. He's part of the Q continuum.
Oh, that's a he.
That's a he.
I thought that was a lady.
Yeah. He's played by the actor. That's not a good thing for EXO-6. You hate to see it.
I thought that was. It looked like the lady who played in the Harry Potter, who was that teacher, the older lady with the. God. I thought that was her, Maggie Smith.
I'm gonna. Oh my god!
Doesn't that look a little bit like Maggie Smith to you?
Classy Ben Thomas once again, y'all.
Oh my god! Let's see here. I'll bring him up for a better look at it here for you. Give me 1 second. Judge Q. There we go. This is what it looks like. Yeah, more so in reality. Anyways, the figure itself, and of course this is his look on the actual show. This is from the very first episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation called Encounters at Farpoint, where Q, this omnipotent being, throws a trial, basically, or I should say puts humanity on trial, which is a great episode. And Q, the actor John Delancey, he is a recurring role through Star Trek, through kind of the history of Next Generation, and even into season 2 of Picard, the recent show that they'd had.
So that's kind of like what they did with Pike when they brought him in, where he was in the wheelchair, and they had that group that they were studying. He was all banged up, so they made him think that he was normal and had this gorgeous wife, and they were all kind of mangled up in real life.
Yeah, I guess so. I wouldn't have thought to compare it to that way, but
yeah, I mean, not putting them on trial, but they were kind of keep kind of observing them, but they were kind of letting them live their lives out in a manner that was kind of like their fantasy because they couldn't live normal lives because they were all, banged up real bad.
I see what you mean. Different from that, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Different from that. This was more like humanity is destined to destroy itself. So Q wants to essentially wipe them out. But instead of wiping them out, Picard says, well, put me on trial to prove that humanity is not that way anymore, that we're not just meant for self-destruction, that we've evolved beyond that, and that we can truly explore the universe without being a destructive force within the universe.
I still think
it's a great
looks like, but I still think that looks like Maggie Smith from the picture.
Not a good thing for EXO-6. You hate to see it. So.
Wow. Look at Murray's comment. Or not Murray, I'm sorry, Andre. Andre's last comment. His last comment.
Oh my god. Destroying my Q figure. I gotta hide him now. Maggie Smith Q. He says also EXO-6 releasing too many too quick, InArt releasing too few too slow. I'd rather take the InArt quality from my Star Trek and have the expense of having less crew. But like you'd have like 1 or 2 per series, and there's so many characters to go through.
Quality over quantity, man.
I don't know. I agree with that up to a certain extent, because now seeing this figure here, Mario, this might knock you out of your chair, buddy, but EXO-6 just put up the pre-order for this character named Krug, played by Christopher Lloyd, the iconic Christopher Lloyd. So Doc Brown himself in makeup here, in the movie Search for Spock. And he was a awesome villain, and thankfully he has David, Kirk's son, killed, because that guy drove me nuts through not only the Wrath of Khan but also the Search for Spock. So good on you, Krug, for being a badass villain. But I can't wait to have this character in my collection, except for the fact that this comes in at $295 plus $25 shipping. So US dollars, we're looking at over $300 to get this in hand. For me here in Canada, that's pushing $400 by the time I get it in hand. And a big reason for that is obviously this is the first figure from EXO-6 we've seen rooted hair on, and some people are loving it and some people are hating it. Some people are like, this is like Barbie hair, this looks terrible. What do you think? Not being a Star Trek fan, Mario, but just the way this figure actually looks. If you want to pull up any pictures, or I can pull up pictures of Christopher Lloyd in makeup as well while you give your take.
I think the likeness is all right. The rooted hair, I don't know, that second angle to the right, it does look a little bit weird in that lighting. It looks like there's some sort of a step, where the where his hair meets his scalp. It looks kind of odd. But they had this at the con, didn't they? They
did, yeah.
Okay, do you have any photos of that, or not really?
Not very well at the con. I asked Anthony, but I didn't hear back on that one. So
okay. Well, I don't understand why they're asking for, what is it, 300 plus shipped on this thing?
300 plus.
I don't see why, unless the license was expensive to obtain, for Christopher Lloyd. But
possible. I think it's mostly in the rooting.
Yeah.
I think what they're saying or looking at is, look at the money that people are paying for rooted InArts. Look at what the money people are paying for rooted Hot Toys.
Is it high-end sheep's wool hair, or is it just like regular?
That's the question.
Horse
they
hair.
haven't really indicated it in their pre-order. So I would say, honestly, they're really starting to push this price point, like well beyond what these figures I feel like should be going for. And like on one hand, I'm like, I want this figure in my collection. I like the character. On the other hand, that's a really hard price to justify. A tough nut to swallow, one would say.
Oh my.
Pete, what are your thoughts on Krug here?
I think it looks really good. I think it is going to be a bit doll hair. I don't think that I can't see them kind of getting into the proper lamb's wool stuff, because I think they would make a point of mentioning that, unless they're completely, shut off from the rest of the 1/6 community, and having seen, what InArt's done and what Hot Toys are now doing. So I think it probably will be that cheaper sort of shiny doll's hair, which isn't great. I think the outfit looks brilliant, looks really good. I think the likeness is good. But for me, I just want Wrath of Khan, so I can pass this by saying he's not in that movie. I'm I'm cool with not having him. But yeah, if you're going to get him, Ben, I hope he's fantastic.
I'll definitely do an in-hand review if and when I get him. The other question it poses for me is, are we going to see any other Search for Spock figures, or is this the only one? Again, when spreading themselves a little thin, like I would say that the Wrath of Khan is more of a fan favorite film. A lot of people really like that. They also have more iconic outfits in that film, in my opinion, than the Search for Spock. Whereas this guy stands out as one of the best characters. There's not a lot of other characters from that movie
unless they did
collect.
Like the reborn Spock, I suppose.
Young
robes.
Spock.
Yeah, but apart from
that doesn't look like Leonard Nimoy. So like even the actor likeness to that, it's like it could be very hit or miss. Like be like, is that supposed to be Spock or different Savick. As I said, I like the other Savick actress, but. And like maybe the David OG fan says, "Wow, Ben, David is annoying, but wow." Yeah, well, I mean, I was happy when he died, honestly. But the emotional catharsis that Kirk goes through seeing his son or hearing his son get stabbed through the con was pretty crazy. And now I will actually say that EXO-6 I think hit the likeness for Christopher Lloyd better than Hot Toys did with their recent Doc Brown figure, for sure. I could have done without the rooted hair. I think if they'd given us sculpted hair at a lower cost, I would have been super happy with that. It's got sculpted facial hair and eyebrow hair and all of that. So it's kind of a combination, mixed media, maybe you would want to say. The other thing that people have pointed out to me since I did my quick initial take video on the Ben Thomas show was that the neck is a generic neck. It's not actually color matched to the skin of the face. It's close, but it's not a match. And so that, I think, would drive me nuts getting it in hand, especially at a $300 plus price point.
Yeah.
Which is insane. The same thing drove me nuts on the Data figure. I've got the First Contact Data. Data is an android. It's got very white skin, but they used a generic figure body. So if you have him holding his tricorder or a phaser or something, you can actually see flesh-toned colored body under his outfit with white hands. I think it just looks cheap. It looks like they didn't go above and beyond to try and make it the cost that they're trying to quantify. So guys, I have one last question for you before we wrap the show up today. Let's Get Nuts wise, and it's this: when it comes to rooting. So I put a lot of different rooted hair pictures here. Obviously not all Hot Toys, not all InArt, not all EXO-6. There's some funny ones here for sure. But Pete, I'll start with you. Is rooted hair getting to be something that is just way overhyped and really not necessary? Or do you think that moving forward, the future of collecting should be about things like rooted hair at this premium price point? What are your thoughts?
I am a fan of it. I do think that if it's done well on the right character, then it can bring a whole new level of authenticity to it, and likeness. And I'll mention Gandalf and Aragorn from InArt. I think for me, obviously Gandalf only comes in the rooted version, and it's looking fantastic, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to getting that at some point in the future. And the Aragorn, I think they did a brilliant job with the sculpted one as well. But again, I think the rooted just brings that added realism. Would I want to rebuy my entire collection rooted? No. I think it's very much a case of picking those figures that mean a lot to you, and that looks stunning, and that the hair is a major part of that, and not just we're just rooting it because that's what everybody does, kind of thing. I think done badly, it's you're better off with a decent sculpted hair. But yeah,
absolutely, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I feel like it's like, oh well, InArt's doing it, so now that's what collectors want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, but so now we're seeing Hot Toys do an artisan edition, and now EXO-6 has got their first rooted hair edition at a crazy price, and it's just like it's becoming a slippery slope. But to me, it's do we even need it? What do you think, Mario? Do we need it? Is it justified of the price point? Do you think it's just the hot thing right now and it'll pass again? Because it's not the first time we've seen rooted hair figures that have come.
Of course not. Of course not. Rudy has been around for a long time. Even more so in the statue community, you'll see some of the stuff. I appreciate the fact that there are those who are stepping up the quality in the rooted hair as far as like aesthetically, adding the product to it, shaping it to make it look proper, like make it look more realistic. And when done right, it definitely brings a level of realism that sculpted hair just can't bring. Like what Pete alluded to earlier with the Gandalf, incredible. I think they did an amazing job, with the rooting in both the beard and the hair as well. I think the one that, who was it? Asmus, they also with the Crown series. From what I remember, I mean, it was all right, but I don't know what it is where InArt just seems to be more attractive, than whatever Asmus was able to, to offer as well. But like I said, there's been a lot of times where us collectors have gotten rooted figures. I mean, I know the frustration is there for the Wonder Woman. It's there for the Black Widow figures. It's such a hit and miss, coming out of the box, how well the rooting actually is. And I remember a lot of collectors saying that they would prefer sculpted, right? And that led to our first sculpted Black Widow figure that we ever got. Our first sculpted Wonder Woman we already got. And now it seems everybody wants rooted again after that. And all this should have been rooted. So I think us as collectors, man, I mean, we know we definitely can't make up our mind. We say one thing, but we want another thing. But again, when done correctly, when executed well, it just brings that extra level of realism. Look at the Anakin, man. It's incredible. I mean, they've done an amazing job with that. As far as the price points is concerned, if that just depends on the collector, man. For me personally, thanks Andre LW for life, my man. If it was a character that I really, really wanted and the rooting was on point, I would definitely pull out the extra cash for the rooted hair. To me, something like that is worth it. It's the definitive version. Even artistically, where I feel you're not going to get any better than that unless you're going to get something on a larger scale where you could probably improve on it. But as far as 6 scale is concerned, this is like the epitome of it. You're not going to get. I don't think you can get any better.
That's fair. Joker J actually poses a really good question here as well. It says, what's the next innovation? Articulated fingers to replace swappable hands, perhaps? Could do it on an endoskeleton with a silicone body. I think we'd see cracking with fingers like that on a silicone body, like really damn quickly, especially depending on the climate. But I agree. I feel like, kind of like you said, Mario, we've seen rooted hair come and go. We've seen those Black Widow figures get panned in chats for how bad the rooting was, and votes for sculpted to come back. And so I'd be worried to see other innovations unless they're really going to make it work well. I think magnets could be a great next kind of step in innovation. Well, magnets aren't all that innovative. Seeing somebody like a Superman hovering above its stand, I think could
magnetic
be really, really cool.
Swap out parts, I think, is the next step.
Totally.
I get rid of the traditional wrist pegs that are easily breakable. Replace them all, with magnetic. I love the way that InArt's implemented the magnetic swap out parts, with the Joker figure. Absolutely. I believe that's something that should be the standard, these days. But alongside with that, with silicone as well in general, we've seen someone put out a figure of some martial art character. I have no idea who it is.
Oh, I saw it. The really muscular woman.
Chun-Li.
No, not Chun-Li. Not Chun-Li.
Not that one?
No. There's another character that looks insanely lifelike in its 6 scale, where to the point that it's creepy. The hair is individually punched. The likeness is insane. The paint apps are on point, and it's all silicone based. The fingers actually bend. You can move everything around where it's like a shrunken real person, all silicone. It looks insane.
That is insane.
So that could be the next thing if someone can actually properly produce that on a larger scale for us. But we'll have to wait and see.
Daniel F says, if rooted hair means the price point jumps an extra $100, then I don't think it's worth it. Sometimes it's more than $100, which is insane. Like, what do you think, Thomas? Do you think rooting is worth the price of admission? Do you think it's the next thing people are excited about? Or do you think it's really just kind of the hot button or a hot topic right now and it'll pass for collectors?
I think it's kind of like more of a hot button for people right now. I think things will settle in. Now, there are certain figures that I believe lend themselves very well to rooting. And of course, then it depends on what sort of, for example, Mario mentioned about silicone. If you've ever seen those, I also collect the ball jointed figures from Asia. I think a lot of times they're called super dolphies and things like that. And they're basically kits. But they also have silicone figures where they actually hand punch the hair. And I think if you've ever seen those those very realistic silicone infants, they actually hand punch each individual hair into it, and you would not be able to tell it wasn't a real life baby. So there are benefits if you're looking for ultra realism. Then I think it's definitely something that we're definitely going to see more of. Things like this InArt Joker. That InArt Joker, you would not have been able to, without, other than sculpting, you would not have been able to recreate that hairline without punching that hair by hand. This Anakin looks great. The Wonder Woman looks good. I think that they should have made her hair not quite as thick in the part, but again, there's little things. But that Gandalf, oh man, I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings person. I like Lord of the Rings. I think I probably could have done just as well with if they had taken the first movie and then just taken the part where they went up the mountain and dropped the ring in and stuck that at the end of that movie. I would have been fine with it. I think the other two movies, I could have done without.
Stay classy, Thomas.
I'm sorry.
Stay classy, bro.
It was just so long. It was just so long. But this character right here, Gandalf looks amazing. That looks like a real human head. Mm-hmm. And so when things are done, when they're done well, it is such a elevation to your collection. When it's done cheaply, it just looks cheap.
For sure.
So, but I actually like hair. I don't have any, but I do like hair, and I like
always
them
want
on,
what you don't have.
Yeah, no, I do like them on figures because there are things that you can do if you're photographing them. You can actually use wind to make the hair kind of move a bit, which kind of adds a little bit more, adds a little bit of life to it. Mm-hmm. So I personally like rooting hair. Same thing like if they with Wonder Woman, for example. Now I don't know if they actually had that as a head sculpt, or they produced that with a rooted wig cap and just used the wool hair. But whatever they did, it makes her look human. So yeah, bravo and keep going. I think we should have as many options and offerings available to us as collectors. I have silicone figures that actually do have fingers that you can adjust and move around. The only thing about them is that the wires are so slender that it's difficult for them to hold a really firm pose. Mm-hmm. So on the smaller figures, maybe not as much. I do like magnets. I've always really enjoyed magnets, but you just have to make sure you have strong magnets, because if those hands pop off and you lose them, then that's a downside to it. Yep. But other than that, I love all these extra options so people can choose what works for them in their collection.
definitely, buddy. Well said. Well said, Thomas. Guys, I've got one last serious/non-serious question to ask the community watching today. We've got 30 plus people still in the chat. If Mario had a 1/6 scale representation of him, would you want a rooted beard or a sculpted beard?
Rooted
you let us
all
know
day
in the
long.
chat right now. 30 people here. Sculpted or rooted for Mario's 1/6 scale figure
All
future.
day long, baby.
Let us
Give
know.
me that
And what-
It's
rooted.
gotta be rooted, man. It's
It's gotta be rooted.
man.
It's gotta be
gotta
rooted. For me, I think rooted is a little overhyped at the moment. I am worried about consistency of production down the line. So I think if we don't see rooted figures be limited quantities, not only will companies like Hot Toys and InArt not be able to keep up with the demand, that we would see those quality releases start to really diminish slowly as production continues. So I think if we're going to see really good quality rooting, we then also have to see limited numbers of those. And maybe that's why we're getting to see this artisan version of Hot Toys and the premium versions within art. For me, it's overrated. I like sculpted. I don't like that EXO-6 is moving into a rooted hair version. I think sculpted should still be the way for collecting in a lot of ways, unless you said, like you said, guys, there's that one character, like for me, the Joker, that I'm willing to pay that extra money for, that I think the rooted does elevate it. I think it's overhyped. But we're seeing a couple chats here. So Maximum says rooted for that magnificent beard. Absolutely. Joker Shay says, I want to swap out rooted and clean when they drop that N1 Starfighter. You'll love to see it. Eddie Rodriguez sculpted. Seamless sculpted Mario from Andre. Niculio rooted. I think a lot of people would buy your figure, Mario. Remains to be seen.
Thank you. That's awesome.
For sure. Since we got you here, Mario, this is your first time on Let's Get Nuts. This is where you can find Mr. Mario, El Profesoro himself, on his YouTube channel. Now, Mario, I know you just started your own Monday night live stream as well.
Yes,
I tuned into the last one on replay. Great show, by the way, dude. It was an awesome show. If you guys missed it, go back to the last Monday show and check that out. But El Profesoro, Mario, what do you have coming up in your life or your channel that we can look forward to, good sir?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, man. It was cool hanging out with y'all. First time here, getting nuts. And I'm all for it. Yeah, like you alluded to, Monday night, do the Profi chat. That's 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's a fun time right now. It's just myself, Joao, P-Rock, and my man Miguel, Toy Quest 101. Just the four of us riffing, just talking 6 scale, we got some statue talk coming up this Monday, along with I think we're gonna go and talk about the Team and Team movie a little bit tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that. So that's gonna be a little bit of a fun discussion. Uncivilized Scoundrels we got coming up this Thursday night. There's a little bit of news to talk about, along with I think we're gonna rank our movies, man, from our least to best. So
Cool.
That's gonna be fun as well. And yeah, LWO Friday night. I think we're gonna be on Marco's channel, 166, and yeah, that's where y'all find me, man. But once again, man, appreciate you having me on tonight, dude. It was a blast.
Always, man. Anytime. You're always welcome. Really appreciate you being here. You're one of the first people I ever listened to while I was still like a fan of of collecting, and before I'd even YouTubed myself. So it's cool to get to share panels with you on all the different chats that we end up running into each other on. Especially my own little show here now. I like your Indiana Jones style writing for the El Profesoro on the.
I was just
on the
messing
logo.
around with it, dude.
That looks
So, yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's got to stick for sure. And honestly, you're almost at 1,000 views for your stream 5 days ago. Those are some good freaking numbers.
Yeah,
dude. So,
yeah. The new
heck
show's
yeah.
doing pretty well. I'm getting good feedback on it, man. So it's fun. It's fun, man.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your own live stream. I think that is well deserved. You've been helping everybody else out for so long. It is certainly appreciated. I know from us, the folks out here that do our own, but still, definitely worth it. Now,
Thank you, man.
Thomas, Classy Thomas, of course. Your live stream, or not live stream, but your channel is starting to grow in popularity, it looks like, as well. SpongeBob SquareBalls. Get him to 50 subscribers, guys. If you guys haven't subscribed to Classy Thomas, please go over after the show today and sub to him. But I know you were talking about your collection tour at the beginning today. Do you have anything else coming up this week or in the next couple of weeks that we can look forward to for you, good sir?
Probably in the next 2 weeks. I have some supplies that I have ordered because I'm working on growing my X-Men collection. So I have a few in the works. I'm currently working on my Banshee, and I'm still mulling over Storm. I think I just need to just dive in and just go for it. And I've almost finished my boy. Well, I have one that's almost finished, and I have one that I'm just about to work on, and one that everything is ready except I just got to get the darn head painted. So that's my Storm. So once I kind of get those done, I'm going to start putting out some content. I hope I'll have something ready and have some new skills to apply to my video within the next 2 weeks. So I don't think I'm gonna put anything up. Thomas is SpongeBob SquareBalls. Yes. So yeah, I should be putting that up maybe within the next 2 weeks, provided that I get my supplies, because I need to. Banshee, I need to make his uniform, but I had to wait for a little bit of PU leather to come in so I can actually construct it. But other than that, just kind of hanging low and doing tutorials and things on the web, and learning how to do this whole streaming things, so I can try to keep it classy like El Profesor wants me to do. So I'm gonna keep it classy. As classy as I can.
Always classy. You're the man, buddy. Thanks for putting up your hand to join another stream. I always appreciate you, good sir. Lovely, kind heart person and fellow collector as well. Go check him out. Yes, he is SpongeBob SquareBalls. Shout out to Lael. He does it way better than me, but go check him out either way. Now, Pete, before you fall asleep, I see you nodding off over there. The sound of Thomas's voice is so soothing, I understand.
Yes.
What do you got coming up on Collecting Weekly, the division of Collecting Weekly, Only Fools in Collecting, over there for you, good sir, at the moment?
We're back live on Thursday this week, 8:30 UK time, episode 98. So we're just a couple away from the big
2 episodes
100
now.
Insane. So yeah, we need to start working on. It's going to come around quick. So going to start looking at what we're going to do for episode 100, and I hope to have a few guests on. And
congratulations, man! That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It's funny because it just seems like only yesterday we were hitting like episode 50, and I was talking to Ian, saying, wonder if we'll still be doing this for episode 100, and considering we only do a show once a fortnight, we've been going for quite a long time, but obviously it's taken us a little bit longer to get to that 100 mark. But yeah, it's going to be a special one, and yeah, I'm quite excited about it really. So I think this week we'll be just talking the normal sort of figure releases and news, and a bit of Star Trek probably, because Ian likes a bit of Star Trek as well. So
he's one of those too.
Yeah. But we proved that you could love Star Wars and Star Trek. They're not mutually exclusive.
What the hell was that?
Yeah.
What was what?
Whose screen? Whose ringtone was that? Somebody's texting
Oh,
me.
That was obviously.
That was not. I'm sorry.
That was actually Thomas. He was like, "What was what?"
I was like, it wasn't me. I was like, what?
That was insanely sus,
you guys
man.
kill me. You guys kill me. Maxim M says, "Great show, Ben and guests. 100%. Thanks for coming, boys. I appreciate it. If you guys are watching, and Pete, by the way, you're the man. I love you, buddy. I'm so happy you got through your technical difficulties today. It would not have been the same stream without you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we'll see you next week, all set up again.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, guys, obviously, if you're watching the show today live or on replay after the fact, the show's been doing very well. We've been getting close to 600 or 700 views every Sunday. So thanks for coming back every single weekend. If you're here, you're on the Ben Thomas Show already. I'm about 140 subs away from 2,000 subscribers, which is insane.
Ooh,
I definitely appreciate that.
great.
I am working on getting a figure giveaway sorted out. I got to get through some of the logistics of that before I announce what figure that that will be. But we will have a 2K giveaway on the Ben Thomas Show here as well. So stay tuned week over week as we get a little bit closer to that number. If you're just tuning in and you haven't subscribed, I always appreciate that. It definitely helps for sure drive some engagement to the show, especially so I can get some of my guest panelists here, some subscribers as well, because they're all the best. I would not have a show this fun or this nutty without my team of guys here. So please subscribe to everybody that you see below you, or below me as well, not below you. That could be weird. But guys, guys, if you're still here, the 30 people still watching, and everybody that tuned in, I love your faces. Honestly, Pete, I would say for another Let's Get Nuts live stream Sunday, we got nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Come on, let's get nuts.
I give you Ben Thomas.
Showtime.
Here we go.
I'll be back.